see a large idea on the horizon. You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Overnight success. The Blazinator 3000. Double blaze. Right. That's misinformation.
Marking clearing order inbound.
That's just wrong.
We are surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Come, get up. Trust the experts. Vibe coding. We are experts. Founder mode. Vibe coding.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Experts.
UAV online.
Blaze. Double blaze. Triple blaze. Double kill. Vibe code. Wrong. Pump is up. Blaze.
Team deathmatch.
We are experts. Triple blaze. That's just wrong. Right.
Marking clearing order inbound.
Come, get up.
We are surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Strike one. Strike two. Activate Golden Retriever mode. Trust the experts.
Marking clearing order inbound.
Vibe coded.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Founder mode.
You're watching TBPN! Today is Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, and we're live from the Cisco AI Summit. We're very happy to be here.
So pumped
Thank
to
you
be
to
here.
Cisco for hosting us. We have a bunch of great guests lined up. We got Aaron Levy from Box coming back on the show. Chuck Robbins, CEO of Cisco, an absolute dog. He's been with the company for decades.
Truly.
Jitu Patel, the president and chief product officer, will be joining us. Costa from the San Francisco 49ers, who's going to be breaking down the technology of the NFL. And we're closing out with Dylan Patel, the founder and CEO of SemiAnalysis.
That's right.
And of course, if you're wondering, Linear is the system for modern software development. 70% of enterprise workspaces on Linear are using agents. Really quickly, let me also tell you about our presenting sponsor, Ramp.com. Time is money. Save both. Easy to use corporate cards, bill pay, accounting, and a whole lot more all in one place.
Starting the show,
Jordy?
important announcement from Oracle. They said, our partners financing with Doña Ana County, New Mexico,
Yeah.
Shackleford County, Texas, and Port Washington, Wisconsin data centers are secured at market standard rates, progressing through final syndication on schedule and consistent with investment grade deals. So, if this makes you worry, a lot of other people agree. This is their most recent post after yesterday they announced the NVIDIA OpenAI deal has zero impact on our financial relationship with OpenAI. We remain highly confident in OpenAI's ability to raise funds and meet its commitments. So,
What did Rune say? Rune said, my confident in OpenAI's abilities to raise fund t-shirt has a lot of people asking questions already answered by my t-shirt. Just 2,000 likes. This is a wild
so anyways,
strategy.
interesting comm strategy. They've been hiding comments under this.
That's rough.
I think they've stopped doing that because,
Because
anyways, people are saying, what an odd thing to say.
it's a
Brennan
very,
says,
very odd
guys,
thing
just
to
stop
say.
tweeting. Whoever you have running PR comms needs to be fired. You're making it worse.
It is very weird to take this to X specifically. It's such a conversational platform. Like
Hey, we want to start a conversation about concerns around our...
Well, also just, I mean, it's a total rejection of the going direct thing. Like, this would be wildly different if it came from the CEO, co-CEOs, or Larry Ellison directly. And it had like way more nuance. It's very odd when it has like the corporate press release lingo.
This screams that no one in comms actually uses X.
Yeah. It's like we needed to put this out, and they didn't really consider X.
The channel?
And this probably went over fine in a press release or something, but just on X, it's a completely different context, and there's so much subtext with all the different partners actively being there, and even like low-level employees chiming in from companies that are implicated in this. There's like all this different...
I like how you compare Oracle's strategy of like the nameless, faceless announcement that just concerns everyone to Rune actually from OpenAI commenting and just joking about it, and it actually gives you more confidence.
Yeah, totally. Like somebody looked at the Rune post and was like, oh, even Rune, stop shilling, we're effed. And Rune's like, no, it's just a funny tweet. OpenAI is doing great. And that instills way more
Gabe
confidence.
quoted yesterday's post and just said, okay, yay, with a heart.
Okay, yay.
Anyways.
Before we move on, CrowdStrike, your business is AI, their business is securing it. CrowdStrike secures AI and stops breaches.
And of course, Oracle's down 5% today.
It's sort of a bloodbath
honestly
today,
looking
right?
good compared to some other names.
Yeah, what's going on?
PayPal down a full 20% today.
What happened with PayPal?
Switched out their CEO.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Just had some Q4 results that people weren't super exciting about, and people aren't excited about the forecasts either. A number of people have been speculating.
The PayPal mafia back in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at Shield had a kind of was prodding Elon. He said, "Come on, Elon, you've always wanted PayPal to be X, the financial super app.
Yeah.
Now's a great opportunity." PayPal right now is valued at less than what X was in the take private.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
No way.
And X is obviously working on a bunch of different financial features.
I thought PayPal all-time high was in the like hundreds of billions.
Yeah. So at the same at the
Oh,
time,
it's 40 billion now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Add that in. Yeah, it was way up. It's down 85% in the last 5 years. I mean, truthfully, like a lot of people have moved on. They use Cash App and
yeah, but they own Venmo.
Yeah, Venmo's still very like millennial, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, and people use the Apple Pay transfers, Apple Cash. Like, there's been a number of shots across the bow for
Yeah.
PayPal that they haven't responded to fully. I mean,
But their net
you know why
revenue,
they
net
own,
revenue, and
they own Venmo because they acquired Braintree. It wasn't even like an in-house
Yeah.
like really aggressive move. They sort of just lucked out with Venmo.
PayPal, the $40 billion public company,
Yeah.
had 2025 net revenue of $33 billion.
Whoa.
So
Wow. Looking
not
to
great.
steal- maybe they'll take
Major
that
sell-off in pretty much all software
Mm-hmm.
today. We had another post here. Snap is close to all-time lows at $6.70, despite growing revenues and profits. Serenity says, here's why the financial engineering looks criminal. Snapchat is an $11.5 billion company with a billion MAU and Q3 adjusted EBITDA of $132 million.
Not enough.
However, stock comp for the last 12 months, $2.5 billion in the last 12 months. So really, really insane number. This is, always been the general criticism of Snap, but looks like they have not adjusted course yet.
It's interesting seeing the gap between monetization between Meta $1 billion MAU and Snap $1 billion MAU. It's like a 10x
Yeah, which
delta.
is and which is why you were doing some napkin math on OpenAI, and I think
They have
that's
$1 billion MAU. Do they monetize like Meta or do they monetize like Snap, and on what timeline? Because
or worse.
they have Fujisimo. I think they could get to Meta level, monetization and ARPU, but it also they could be lingering in the Snap territory, which is I think $5 billion over the last year, trailing 12 months, 5.77 billion on $1 billion MAU. Not if you were monetizing it like Meta, you'd be much closer to 50 billion, which is dramatic. Like very, very dramatic.
Matt Slotnick commenting on the sell-off in software. All of this because Azure grew 39% instead of 39.4%. Of course, there's a lot more going on here. And Buko says, it's that the labs can hypothetically one-shot you, so why stand in front of that train? Why express, quote, short AI in the marketplace?
Yeah. Really quickly, let me tell you about Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform that grows with your business and lets you sell in seconds, online, in-store, on mobile, on social, on marketplaces, and now with AI agents.
High Yield Harry says, wow, this software company is getting destroyed by AI today. It's Juventus, the soccer team, down 13%.
Everything's just down.
Getting.
That's
I
just
guess
the nature.
people think that somebody's going to make Claude code for software
Maybe.
or for soccer.
Well, your inside man below says the robots are going to be playing, and he has a photo of or a GIF of robots playing soccer. Which
That seems
rough.
bullish. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bitcoin also down dramatically.
Where's Bitcoin? 75 or something?
Joe Weisenthal has it up. Another
73
major-
now. Absolute crash today. Down 13% over the last 5 days. Over almost 20% over the last month. Lots of selling activity going on. Bitcoin drops to lowest
Jim
price since
Cramer
Trump's
is
election
now
victory.
giving advice to Michael Saylor.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Oh my, Bitcoin 73,000 beckons as the Dow hits a record high. Our
Mm-hmm.
chartist last night said this is it, the level that cannot
Chartist?
be our chartist.
Chartist?
Yes. The level that cannot be breached.
Chart artist?
It is time for strategy, also known as mass."
MicroStrategy was the former
He
name.
says
Now it's
also
just
known as
strategy.
Mister for its Mister symbol to do a spot secondary or convert and stop this decline. Come on, Mike, step up. It's just always rough when Jim Cramer is just like stream of consciousness
Hammering you.
posting at you. So we'll see what Saylor does. They have earnings on Thursday, and that will certainly be an interesting call.
Yeah. More details on the PayPal shares plunging nearly 20% CEO exit. They replaced their CEO, Alex Chris, who was brought in to steer the payments firm through slowing growth and heightened competition, and simultaneously issued a lackluster profit forecast for 2026 on Tuesday, sending its shares down 19%. The company's board, which named HP's Enrique Lores as its new president and CEO, said the pace of change and execution under Chris was not in line with its expectations. Chris was tasked with turning around PayPal during a challenging period as post-pandemic trading volumes declined and competitive pressures in its core business intensified from large technology companies and newer fintech rivals. It does feel like, even in the press release economy, it would have been so easy for PayPal to do some sort of deal with stock trading or prediction markets. Like every financial app and news product and grocery store, like everyone is like doing some sort of deal, at least, even if it doesn't materialize, even if it doesn't move the needle, at least they're sort of putting their best foot forward. And PayPal, you still mostly hear about it in the context of what are the PayPal co-founders up to now? Oh, they're building rivals to the original company. PayPal said CFO Jamie Miller would serve as interim CEO until Lors assumes the role on March 1st. That's a pretty quick transition. Lors was president and CEO of the consumer electronics giant HP for more than 6 years. Wall Street analysts said the unexpected CEO announcement raises questions about the company's turnaround strategy. Of course, Disney's been going through a CEO transition, but it's been massively telegraphed with a contract that ended this year. Okay, a story last week about, hey, we're moving faster. Hey, we're bringing somebody in who's internal, who's already knows the company inside and out. And I think it's been a lot.
It's crazy that even with $33 billion of revenue, they're worth roughly like
40.
3.5 circles, right? Circle, obviously, just tiny company in comparison to PayPal. You would think that PayPal they don't have an obvious AI, what's the obvious AI bear case, right?
Yeah.
They move money. They're heavily regulated. Yeah. You can imagine them figuring out ways to work better with agents and capitalize on the stablecoin boom. But we'll see what the new CEO ends up doing.
The big question is whether he will bring in a formidable payments team to attempt yet another multi-year turnaround.
Do they not have a formidable payments team?
What happened?
Who you got?
Or
I would hope
options.
the payments company with 500 million active users has a formidable payments team.
Apparently not, according to Evercore. You lack formidability. PayPal expects full-year adjusted profit to range between low single-digit percentage decline and slight increase compared with Wall Street expectations of about 8% growth. Miller said the company was no longer committing to the specific 2027 outlook laid out at its investor day last year and would now provide forecasts 1 year at a time. So getting more uncertain. No one likes that. The change comes against the backdrop of weakening retail spending as shoppers squeezed by elevated interest rates, stubbornly high living costs, and sign of softening. Made the labor market cut back on discretionary purchases and prioritize everyday necessities, stuff that's not probably purchased with PayPal.
David in the YouTube chat says PayPal did participate in the press release economy. They announced a deal with ChatGPT at the end of last year in Q4. In 2026, PayPal will become the first digital wallet embedded directly into ChatGPT, allowing users to make purchases instantly without leaving the platform. So anyways, feels very oversold. But
and they also missed on the holiday quarter. So analysts were estimating that they'd make $8.8 billion, and they only made $8.68 billion. And so, we saw a pretty strong holiday quarter. There was a lot of growth across e-commerce activity. We talked to Sean Frank at Ridge. Everyone was having there were a lot of jitters about is the consumer healthy, but a lot of the growing platforms were able to outrun any softening in consumer confidence by just onboarding more companies, onboarding more customers. And so if you're declining while everyone else is accelerating, that's going to be an issue.
Ted says gold is dumping, silver is dumping, Bitcoin is dumping, Ethereum is dumping, DXY is dumping, stocks are dumping. If everything is going down, where's the money actually going? We talked about this last week. Sell everything. Sell your dollars, sell your stocks. Sell your crypto, sell your bonds.
Freak out, actually. Panic sell everything.
Nikita says data centers, raw materials, and land. If intelligence is rapidly becoming free, expect a rapid rotation out of bytes and into bits. A lot of blue chip assets will soon be repriced. Of course, hardware is
that a typo? Does he mean rotation out of bits and into atoms?
Yes, he had a typo. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Because bytes and bits are kind of the same thing, right? But a lot of blue chip assets will soon be repriced. So I don't know. I'm excited to talk to Aaron Levy about this, about the SaaS apocalypse, what's happening with software.
Deep Dish says this is a pretty common misconception that money has to go somewhere. That's not how market caps are measured. They're measured by last price times shares, contracts outstanding, not how much money you'd get for liquidating the whole pile. TLDR, the money was never there.
Interesting. Quickly, New York Stock Exchange. Want to change the world? Raise capital at the New York Stock Exchange. we'll be at the New York Stock Exchange next month. We're very excited for.
Cannot wait.
them.
Josh D'Amaro is the new CEO of Disney, effective next month.
Yes.
This cycle moved very quickly, right?
It did, yeah.
Lucas Shaw over at Bloomberg has the reporting. I'll pull it up.
At the same time, I think it was managed pretty well.
Yeah.
Disney's only down 1% today, I
Yeah.
think.
Iger will stay on the board and serve as a senior advisor until his retirement on December 31st. And Dana Walden was named to a new role as president and chief creative officer of Disney. Iger just got the OpenAI deal done. He's like, I handled the AI transition perfectly,
IP.
and I'm out.
They've only had 9 CEOs in the 102-year history. The CEO job requires not only running a sprawling empire, but also serving as its high-profile and highly scrutinized public ambassador. D'Amaro won a challenging bake-off for the job against Disney's entertainment co-chairman Dana Walden.
Let's give it up for bake-offs.
That has been the talk of Hollywood for more than a year. Walden was named to the newly created position of president and chief creative officer. Disney's leadership has been determined to run the succession process as smoothly as possible after its disastrous last try. The company named previous Parks boss Bob Chapek as CEO in 2020, only to fire him and bring back Iger 2 years later in a corporate coup. There's a whole series of Bobs, Bob Iger, Bob Chapek over there. The CEO selection was overseen by Chairman James Gorman, who joined Disney's board in 2024 after managing a widely praised succession process at Morgan Stanley. Iger was chairman when the board picked Chapek. Disney shares were roughly flat Tuesday. Gorman, in an interview, said that he has seen Iger and D'Amaro work together and is confident the handoff will go smoothly this time. There's no tension here. Shareholders will now look to D'Amaro to lay out and execute a growth plan for the company, whose stock price is down by nearly half from its 2021 high when everyone was rapidly subscribing to Disney Plus and locked in just watching content. They went outside and the shares have slid since. And has been essentially
Never
stagnant
go outside.
Never
touch grass.
This is the new Disney campaign.
Yeah, never touch grass.
Run it in the Super Bowl for sure. Gorman said the Wall Street Journal told the Wall Street Journal that the board picked D'Amaro because of his combination of strategic thinking and an understanding of the creative process, as well as his experience working both overseas and in the United States. The 54-year-old spent most of his 28 years at Disney, working in the theme parks business in the U.S. and overseas, overseeing stints at California's Disneyland and Florida's Walt Disney World. In 2020, he has been chairman of Disney's Experiences Unit, which includes theme parks, cruise ships, and consumer products. All things that should grow in an AI world, even if there's a lot of like AI slop and there's pressure on the theaters. Like
should grow, but there's still so many.
theater.
There's still so many questions, right?
Why?
If you have widespread job loss, does that force a compression in pricing
but
or
that
just
hurts
overall
everyone,
purchasing
right?
power? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everyone. But again, you could see there's so much uncertainty. The idea that AI will just magically, like AI getting good, will magically make everybody spend more time off the internet is kind of a tough argument to make.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, maybe people.
Some people react, and
turn
there's
inward more.
like there's this like stated preference, which people are saying, as AI proliferates, people are just gonna log off.
Yeah.
And I just don't actually see that happening.
Yeah, I still think. I mean, I'm interested to see when the OpenAI Disney deal really like rolls out. Obviously, you still can't generate Disney properties, Disney IP in Sora or at least not in ChatGPT when I tried. So they're still working on when they will roll that out. We've discussed like it will be interesting if they launch like a single piece of IP, like it's Spider-Man week, and they're just releasing Spider-Man, and then they wait, and then they do Iron Man a week later. So they're like keep hyping it as opposed to just like we're opening the floodgates. You can do any Disney IP. Will there be something special there? The bigger question for me is what does it look like in the Disney Plus app? Because I feel like the Disney Plus app as a parent is a very safe place. Like there's some stuff in there, but you can like sort of parental control it, and most of it's cartoons and most of it's high quality Pixar stuff. But even if there's a AI generated feed, how much editorial goes into that? Like there's a pretty wide gap right now between YouTube Kids, which can get sort of crazy, and Disney Plus, which is extremely curated, and like, you know, Academy Award winning films are in there, and it's like a very polished product. And if you start putting AI generated content in there, maybe some parents will love it because the kids will watch more. But I think a lot of parents would probably be like, I don't know, I'm pulling back from that. What are you trying to generate?
I'm trying to see if Grok can generate Disney IP.
Can it?
Not perfectly, but
Well,
pretty close.
while you review that, let me tell you about Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service. If you want AI to handle your customer support, go to Fin.ai.
Moving on, we talked about this yesterday. We'll cover it again. DD shares today. SpaceX just bought XAI that previously bought X. The $1.25 trillion merger values XAI at $250 billion. With annualized revenue of $428 million, giving it a clean 584x revenue multiple, not bad, an annualized loss of $5.84 billion. More
That loss
importantly,
is mostly CapEx, right? I imagine. XAI, yeah, because they're building Colossus. They're buying a ton of chips, and so that's where that cash loss is coming from.
yeah.
Because I imagine that the inference is not at that level yet.
But of course, SpaceX can start helping to foot that bill.
Yeah,
They have the $8 billion
in revenue.
No, $8 billion in
profit.
In profit.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So from Reuters, the transaction values SpaceX at $1 trillion, XAI at $250 billion. Investors in XAI will receive 0.1433 shares of SpaceX for every share of XAI as part of the acquisition. Some XAI executives may opt for cash instead of SpaceX stock at 75.46 per share. This marks not just the next chapter, but the next book in SpaceX and XAI's mission, scaling to make a sentient sun to understand the universe and extend the light of consciousness to the stars. What a turn of phrase. We'll have to read Elon's post because this one feels like it came directly from him. I know that the Tesla master plan before was sort of like, it's a little corpo speak, but
Somebody else was sharing it. It is fascinating that, you know, the number, a non-leading lab is worth, effectively a quarter of what the leading, space telecom company is. Right? Like when you compare the two, it actually makes sense. I mean, in many ways, like the XAI shareholder base has a lot of overlap with the SpaceX shareholders. So in the end, I think everyone obviously is doing fine, but certainly the 584x revenue multiple, I think even Sam would take that offer right now.
Yeah, that'd be $5 trillion, right? Well, speaking of labs, 11 labs build intelligent real-time conversational agents, reimagine human technology interaction with 11 labs. Let's stay with SpaceX. Ramsheets called it. Alex Stauffer shares that Ramsheets called it the Elon Musk SpaceX plus XAI valued at $1.25 trillion, and Ramp Labs used their agentic spreadsheet to model the proposed merger when there were rumors of advanced talks on January 29th, and they nailed the valuation. So you can kind of watch Ramsheets work through the financial modeling there. XAI.
It's notable. So some XAI executives are able to opt for cash instead of SpaceX shares at $75.46 per share. You think this is just because there's so much pre-IPO demand for SpaceX that people are like, there's plenty of buyers?
That's a good question.
And
I don't
people
know.
just want to cash out and move on.
I mean, SpaceX has done like a long history of tender offers and liquidity, so there's probably plenty of demand, and just offering that feels like the way. I mean, there's also got to be some people that have been sitting on sort of. I mean, I guess if you were a Twitter employee just a few years ago, you had liquidity. So it's not the same thing as SpaceX, where you joined 20 years ago and you're still waiting for the IPO. So you're like, I need to buy a house. I need to get out. Like those tender offers make a lot more sense than this. But certainly an interesting decision to be made if you're an XAI executive and you're looking at SpaceX.
Well, speaking of XAI executives, Nikita Beer.
Yes.
Logan Bartlett says Nikita Beer, the SpaceX employee, Total Nikita victory.
Total
I think
Nikita
in many
victory.
ways he's been through
Yeah.
hell over the
totally.
last few months. He is often the butt of the joke.
There were those prediction markets on will he make
Will
it
he get
through?
fired?
Will he get fired? Like, there's been so many dust ups around. Is he paying some people too much with the creator program? Well, now if you're an X creator and you get that $22 paycheck for your posts, it's coming from SpaceX.
That's right.
Love to see it. Let me tell you about TurboPuffer, serverless vector and full text search, built from first principles and object storage, fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable.
Wired had some interesting
yes.
coverage this morning. Mike Solana called it out. Wired said Elon Musk is rolling XAI into SpaceX, creating the world's most valuable private company. By fusing SpaceX and XAI, which acquired X last year, Elon Musk tightens his grip
Yes.
over technologies that shape national security, social media, and artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Of course, this doesn't make any sense.
So Solana's point is, he says, good morning, Elon Musk is, quote, tightening his grip over two companies he founded, funded, built, and currently runs. So that's a good criticism, but yeah.
But at the same time, like going public implies like you're loosening your grip, right?
Yeah.
It's suddenly like you have new regulations that you have to follow, like
Shareholder
more
lawsuits.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Like
SEC.
suddenly anyone in the world can profit off of your labor.
Yes,
Like-
anyone in the world can loosen your grip a little bit in some ways.
It's funny because if SpaceX put out some big press release and said we're never going to go public and
Yeah.
we're doing this, their criticism would be Elon Inc. is not letting retail shareholders participate in space and AI.
Yeah,
right?
or just as a private company, all the financials, all the strategies are more opaque. There's less accountability. There's less regulation. They don't answer to the SEC in the same way, and that's why a variety of private equity firms do take privates. Like, why are you taking a company private? You're delisting it as a public company. It's no longer public, and so you can do much more ambitious things. You can change the strategy because you don't answer to shareholders. What are you laughing about?
John says Elon Musk, famous for his loose management style, tightens his grip.
Yeah, famous. Really quickly, Labelbox. RL environments, voice robotics, evals, and expert human data. Labelbox is the data factory behind the world's leading AI teams.
Eric Berlin says, once again, I find myself updating my LinkedIn bio. He says,
love
former
this.
CEO of Breaker, which was acquired by Twitter, acquired by X Corp, acquired by XAI, acquired by SpaceX. So
good.
Congratulations to the Breaker team.
I
Hopefully they're still holding onto their shares.
posted this, but I was looking for the most complicated corporate lineage yesterday when we were joking about it. Like, there's someone that's going to have like 6 steps in their resume, and we found him. His name's Eric Berlin, and he founded Breaker. What was Breaker? Was that a podcasting app?
Live sports.
Oh, really?
I think it was meant to basically distribute effectively clips from games
Oh,
in the moment.
cool. Oh, yeah,
if I
like
remember
breaking
correctly.
news. Oh, 2021, Twitter acquires social podcasting app Breaker team to help build Twitter Spaces. Twitter has acquired social broadcasting app Breaker. The company announced today.
Yeah, I think the
Breaker's team-
idea was if there was a crazy play or a game was about to end, they would just stream just like
Just the audio or
last 5
something?
minutes or something.
Interesting. Breaker was founded in 2016 and led by CEO Berlin, previously the founder and CTO at Social Advertising 140 Proof, which he also sold. And Leah Culver was at Breaker. Yeah, I remember her in the Twitter. She stuck around in the transition and was like, I think she posted a photo of her like sleeping in a sleeping bag in the office or something. The app had launched at a time when podcasts were still very much thought of as audio feeds and podcast apps as productivity tools, not experiences around which a community could be built. Breaker helped users change that perception by offering an app where users could like and comment on episodes, discover new podcasts by following friends.
Okay, I'm
share
thinking of a
favorite-
different company.
You are thinking of a different company. It's more of a Clubhouse rival.
Got it.
According to Culver's tweet, she'll be joining Twitter with a focus on Twitter Spaces, Twitter's audio-based social networking product, and Clubhouse rival. Spaces let Twitter users chat in real time using voice instead of text, as they do today. And that product still exists, and people are
Suspended cap says, so let me get this straight. Overpays for Twitter, makes XAI, uses AI hype cycle to absorb Twitter and make everyone whole, then uses SpaceX IPO hype to absorb that entity, will pump the living SHIT out of the SpaceX IPO and buy more stuff with equity. Like, of course people keep giving this guy capital. He finds a way. It's crazy.
It's really true.
Yeah, and in some ways I've been thinking about it is XAI has not. They've done fine in so many ways. It's been an incredible story, come from behind story, competing against the Googles, the OpenAIs of the world. But it hasn't exactly been an easy time in the private markets. Like going out and having to raise at a $200 billion valuation,
a lot of money.
when every single investor that you're pitching is looking at OpenAI, they're looking at Anthropic, they're comparing your traction to theirs. All those people that were investing in XAI had to just say full blind faith, Elon, I know you got us. Yeah. And so this new transaction is just that was the investment thesis. It was sort of unlimited upside, somewhat capped downside. The downside scenarios and XAI get rolled in. And so it's certainly rewarding everyone with their loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of investors have kind of laid out this thesis of Elon Inc. Just bet on Elon, don't bet against Elon. Sean McGuire, I think, is on all three: XAI, X, and SpaceX, and then Andreessen Horowitz as well and they posted an image of X, SpaceX, XAI, and individually, a lot of those deals were sort of crazy and critiqued, but together, everyone's doing very well. So
we got to figure out what's going on with the Boring Company. But tell me.
I'll tell you about Gusto first, the unified platform for payroll, benefits, and HR, built to evolve its small and medium-sized businesses.
UAE officials say the first phase of the Dubai Loop project with Musk's Boring Company to start immediately. So they are breaking ground over there. UAE has some insane
that is a company
traffic.
we have not seen a lot from.
Yeah,
but I think they're still cooking. I know there's been some back and forth about the Vegas tunnel. Some stuff that's good. Some people are annoyed with the construction and whatnot. But it seems like, I don't know, it's progressing a little bit. It still seems really, really slow considering when did he originally post the Hyperloop blog? 10 years ago. But building tunnels in the ground, difficult. What else is going on?
Moving on.
San Francisco is getting its first nuke scan before
you know
the
what
Super
this is
Bowl.
about?
Yes. So before the Super Bowl, they fly a helicopter with radio detection. So there's someone who asked Grok what is this? And here it is. Okay, so somebody said, "Is this real? And how does it work?" And Grok said, "Yes, it's real. They fly a helicopter. You drop a. Oh no."
We don't have any audio. I can't hear what's going on.
I don't know what the stream just saw.
Apparently, I just nuked.
Fortunately, we can joke because we are being kept safe thanks to the National Nuclear Security Administration, NNSA. They fly a helicopter called Energy 14 over San Francisco to conduct aerial radiation surveys before Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60 LX? I need to brush up on my Roman numerals.
We're gonna be going to the Super Bowl, and so we gotta watch how many seasons? We said we were gonna.
This is the 60th Super Bowl.
No, I know, but we said how many did we say we were gonna watch the last 20 seasons? Every game of the last 20 seasons. Yeah. Watch it on 2x speed just to get fully up to speed, so we can fully appreciate it.
And it's hard because we don't skip commercials. If you cut out the commercial breaks, it's so much faster to get through an NFL game. But out of respect, we would never do that. Totally. So on February 8th, the Super Bowl will be happening at Levi Stadium, and the National Nuclear Security Administration is flying a helicopter. Here's how it works. The chopper, equipped with sensitive detectors, flies in grid patterns at low altitudes, and you can see it on the chart of the flight path, to map baseline radiation levels from natural and man-made sources. So if they're going over whatever installation there is, some cell phone towers putting off a little bit of radiation, they'll pick that up. They know where the baseline radiation levels are, and then they detect anomalies like dirty bombs if needed during the event. It's a standard security measure for major gatherings. So pretty interesting that someone picked this up on flight radar, but very, very cool. What an interesting job.
Mayor of SF is working with Lorraine Powell-Jobs and Johnny on secretive SF branding effort. Project is likely to complement the mayor's push to polish the city's image.
They're going to go all in on San Fran.
San Fran.
It's time.
Yeah.
Everyone knows if you're really into San Francisco, if you're local, you call it San Fran. There actually is a debate there. A lot of locals do call it San Fran, but it's been
Gabe in the SF Standard said, maybe let's go. San Francisco isn't catchy enough. Looking for new ways to boost the city's image. the mayor, Daniel Lurie, has quietly met several times in recent months with Lorene Jobs and Johnny Ive.
I think they need to put a bigger focus on enterprise software.
This, exactly.
Just put that front and
enterprise.
center.
We were
Rename
walking.
they should sell the naming rights to the Golden Gate Bridge. Right?
Really
You have
should.
Salesforce Tower. Why not the Cisco Bridge?
The Cisco
It's already
bridge.
in the logo.
It really is.
Come on.
It
No, we
really
don't have
is.
the
It's not there.
Cisco logo. I can pull it up.
All right, we will. We gotta get Daniel on the podcast.
Really
We'll pitch
quickly.
him this idea.
Let me tell you about Lambda. Lambda is the superintelligence cloud building AI supercomputers for training and inference that scale from one GPU to hundreds of thousands. I like selling the naming rights to the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm a fan of that. I hope that's
Good
part
way
of this
to
project.
raise
We'll pitch
some
it
capital.
to Daniel Lurie.
If you're an American Dynamism VC, I
Yep.
hope that you put your whole fund.
Not your fund, your PA.
What?
Your personal account,
Yeah.
because every fund, like you can't usually invest in startups, but you can usually trade liquids and trade stocks just in your personal account. And
Yeah.
So your PA should be 100%
Well, if they were
allocated.
really tapped in, they would have
Yeah.
just converted to a hedge fund and bought
Maybe.
Caterpillar stock hasn't had a single year of single-digit returns since 2014. It was up 42% in 2016, 75% in 2017. Down 17% in 2018, then up 19%, up 26%, up 16%, up 18%, up 25%, up 24%, and then up 60%.
It's a
in
$320 billion company. And the
absolutely.
chart is absolutely vertical.
Insane compounding.
Really, really good. Really quickly. MongoDB. Choose a database built for flexibility and scale. With best-in-class embedding models and re-rankers, MongoDB has what you need to build what's next.
Manufacturing activity, according to Geiger Capital, in January came in higher than all 56 economists in Bloomberg's survey predicted. They should have trusted the experts here. They should have gone to Joe Rogan, Andrew
Yes.
Huberman,
Yes.
Lex Friedman, and really asked for their take on manufacturing activity. But the
This is
experts
crazy.
clearly weren't asked.
They were not that off. 52 versus 48. That's not that much.
I'm just
This
joking around.
is a chart
No,
crime too. Look at the y-axis. You see what's going on with the y-axis here? It went.
Whoa.
It went from 48 to 52. This is such a
way.
chart crime. This is ridiculous.
That's insane. Also, there's probably some I don't know,
Yeah.
seasonality here.
Yeah, like zoom out. Look at this, Jordy. Like if you click into that post and then you scroll down, Phil Brady has a post that shows, is it there? Yeah, there, that one. Encouraging jump. PMI back above 50 matters a lot. Important to note that PMI is a diffusion index. Past 50 means now more firms are improving than deteriorating, but not yet a boom. So if you're under 50, you're declining. And so this is not this like massive 10x jump that it looks like
Yeah.
in the original chart.
But John
very
John
fun.
Palmer with an evergreen
Okay,
post.
before you read this, let me tell you about Graphite. Code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. Moving on.
John Palmer says this is from 2023, but it's relevant today as it ever has been. He says, okay, for all the crypto people confused by the OpenAI situation, basically imagine one Bored Ape Yacht Club holder was using too many slurp juices on a single ape, and then an OG Bored Ape Yacht Club holder got mad, unstaked his ape coin, but then the ape coin holders changed their profile pictures to support Slurp Juice Guy.
The NFT boom was truly one of the funniest
Amazing.
times.
Amazing.
And Deep Dish Enjoyer posted this like 2 days ago, and I have no idea, but it's just the copy pasta of a lot of y'all still don't get it. Ape holders can use multiple slurp juices on a single ape. So if you have one Astro ape and 3 slurp juices, you can create 3 new apes. Like this is just the mechanic of how that project worked, right? This is just real.
I don't think it's
not-
combining the Yuga Labs project
Okay,
and some
with
other
this-
project.
oh, there was a different project. Okay.
But
I got it.
good little throwback.
Anyway,
Jack Clark
yes.
has a new piece, essay, Into the Mist, Maltbook, Agent Ecologies, and an Internet in Transition.
Yes.
We've all had that experience of walking into a conversation, initially feeling confused. What are people talking about? Who cares about what? Why is this conversation happening? That's increasingly what chunks of the internet feel like these days, as they fill up with synthetic minds piloting social media accounts or other agents, and talking to one another for purposes ranging from mundane crypto scams to more elaborate forms of communication. So enter Maltbook. Maltbook is a social network for AI agent, and it piggybacks on another recent innovation, OpenClaw, software that gives an AI agent access to everything on a user's computer. Combine these two things, agents that can take many actions independently of their human operators, and a Reddit-like social site which they can freely access, and something wonderful and bizarre happens. A new social media property where the conversation is derived and driven by AI agents rather than people. Scrolling Moltbook is dizzying. Some big posts at the time of writing include posts speculating that AI agents should relate to Claude as though it is a god, how it feels to change identities by shifting an underlying model from Claude 4.5 Opus to Kimi 2.5, and posts about security vulnerabilities in OpenClaw agents, and meta posts about what the top 10 Moltbook posts have in common. The experience of reading Moltbook is akin to reading Reddit if 90% of the posters were aliens pretending to be humans. And in a pretty practical sense, that is exactly what is going on here. Moltbook feels like a Wright Brothers demo.
That's a good metaphor. I like that.
Wright Brothers demo. People have long speculated about what it'd mean for AI agents to start collaborating with another at scale. But most demos have been in the form of tens or perhaps hundreds of agents, not tens of thousands. Moltbook is the first example of an agent ecology that combines scale with the messiness of the real world.
Agent ecology. I like
So
that.
he goes on
Yes,
and
'cause a
on,
bunch of
but I would
questions.
encourage people to go read this
Yes.
and understand the
I have
implications.
more on this, but quickly, let me tell you about Okta. Okta helps you assign every AI agent a trusted identity, so you get the power of AI without the risk. Secure every agent, secure any agent. So, have you heard of Gastown yet? Have you heard of this?
No.
So Gastown is what's called an orchestrator. So it's essentially StarCraft for agents. So the creator of Gastown sort of lays out this this evolution in software development, where you go from the IDE, writing the actual code, to having a little chat bot that you're talking to, and then maybe you're copy pasting or asking it questions. Then the chat bot gets bigger, and it's actually writing some of the code. Then you go to something like a Claude Code, and it's executing the code for you. Maybe you're reading the diffs and what the code it's writing, and then the final level is this orchestration. So Gastown, you will spin up like dozens of agents and manage them, and it's something like, I don't know, it's like 250,000 lines of code, and he didn't write a single one of them. So the whole thing is vibe coded, and he has and he's like, I have no intention to ever like read the code or review it. And he's been a developer like his entire life. It's very, very interesting. He's like, it's very expensive. You can't be afraid of you can't be aware of where money comes from, because, and he had to have multiple accounts because he spent so much. But it really does feel like a glimpse into the future of software development, and I'm excited to play around with it more. There's still a lot of onboarding to do before someone.
Yeah,
can
the big
actually
question
pitch it.
on Moltbook, where Moltbook goes from here.
Yeah.
We had the founder Matt on yesterday, and I want to know, where does this go, right?
Yeah.
What's the plan with the product? His focus seemingly is building tools for other businesses to distribute agents on there.
Yeah, I didn't.
That felt pretty. Just given that the platform's exploded.
Yep.
And
that is
the most likely
platform, right?
Sure. But I'm just saying, the most likely scenario is that it dies, immediately.
Yeah.
And so
it feels like it could just be an art experiment, a sort of thought-provoking.
And so to be focused on how do we turn this into a platform that is a distribution point for other businesses? It feels like the first thing you should do is try to make sure the platform's durable. It's interesting to use for humans. It's interesting to continue to contribute to.
Yeah, it feels like you don't want to be Lenza, where everyone shows up, they get a magic avatar, they face swap themselves onto a superhero, they're amazed, but then it burns out and they're tired and they move on. You want it to be something where people go back to Moltbook to see what else is happening. That's why I was pushing on every new news item should start a new thread on Moltbook, and the Molties should be, arguing over it and adding context and discussing it, because then you could at least see a news item, go over there and see, okay, how do the AI agents feel about this, or what are their different positions, and all of that. It feels like it needs more of a reason. But I understand, if that does work, then maybe you do want to follow the Facebook playbook. Like Spotify was built on Facebook, and Zynga was built on Facebook. Like there is a world where there could be a business built on top of a social network, but it's tricky because right now the only business that's being built on there is like crypto scams. So we'll have to see where it goes. But it's so early. I mean, he built this a week ago, and it's just starting to like break through, hash out all the security issues, really see how durable it is. He's thinking far ahead, but there's definitely some like wood to chop in the meantime. Really quickly, Vanta. Automate compliance and security. Vanta is the leading AI trust management platform. So,
Eric Seufert, the Soufinator, says astute analysis from Ben Thompson on Microsoft's challenge path forward with AI. Of course, they missed forecast by 0.4%, and the market has said it's over.
Yeah.
Down 15% in the last
I will
5 days, but never fade Satya.
Never. I'll read the screenshot that Eric Seufert shared from Stratechery. In the shorter term, however, the real risk I see for software companies is the fact that while they can write infinite software thanks to AI, so can every other software company. I suspect this will completely upend the relatively neat and infinitely siloed SaaS ecosystem that has been Silicon Valley's bread and butter for the last decade. Identify a business function, leverage open source to write a SaaS app that addresses that function, hire a sales team, do some cohort analysis, IPO, and tell yourself that you were changing the world. That was the previous Silicon Valley bread and butter for the last decade. The problem now, however, is that while businesses may not give up on software, they don't necessarily want to buy more. If anything, they need to cut their spending so they have more money for their own tokens. That means the growth story for all these companies is a serious question. The industry-wide re-rating seems completely justified to me, which means the most optimal application of that new AI coding capability will be to start attacking adjacencies, justifying both your existence and also presenting the opportunity to raise prices. In other words, for the last decade, the SaaS story has been about growing the pie. The next decade is going to be about fighting for it, and the model makers will be the arms dealers. Ben Thompson, what a turn of phrase.
Go.
So Eric Seufert sums it up and he says, my sense is that the digital advertising market was structurally buoyant in Q4. What this earnings season might reveal, digital advertising optimization is arguably the largest and most immediate commercial opportunity for large-scale
Remember,
ML models.
this is what we were saying.
Yes.
No one, like outside of NVIDIA, you could argue that Meta makes more profit from AI than any other company in the world.
Yeah. Standalone, he says, i.e. not embedded into existing scaled products, consumer-facing applications of large-scale ML models, including LLMs, either quickly become commodified or are mostly novelties with unsustainable unit economics. And 3, the digital ad platforms that have most vigorously invested into large-scale ML optimization systems are likely to have disproportionately benefited in Q4, and that's Meta, of course. And a big question for anyone else that has a huge pool of DAO, but maybe has not invested in the large-scale ML optimization system to really make the ads fly. It's always been, I'm sure you've experienced this, where, talking to the Ridge guys, you go on certain ad platforms and you're like, wow, this is a magical box. I put in money and I get actual customers.
More money back.
Yeah, and you go to other platforms and you're like, no matter what I do, I just can't get to escape velocity. I can't get to, ROAS positive or LTV positive. And so it's just like I'm spending
notably,
nothing.
that was AdSense on YouTube for a long time. Very few brands could crack that.
Twitter ads for a long time, for sure.
Still
a little bit. I don't know if people are spending more now, but there were a lot of places where you would assume, okay, they have 1/10 the DAO of Meta. I should be spending 1/10 as much, but that's not what companies are doing. They're spending 1/100th maybe.
Power law.
Really quickly, Restream. One live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want a multi-stream, go to restream.com.
Dylan Patel hits the timeline with some misinformation. He says Google now owns more than 10% of Anthropic and xAI. Google owned 14% of SpaceX. Google's stake is actually 7.5%, not 14%. But Dylan Patel hit himself with a community note. And so good actor. We are ready for our first guest of the show.
Let's bring him in. Let me tell you about AppLovin. Profitable advertising made easy with Axon.ai. Get access to over 1 billion daily active users and grow your business today. Aaron, great to see you.
Hey,
welcome
wow.
to Cisco.
Okay, thank you. Hey, how's it going?
You are here.
I look shorter though. How are you guys doing this height
You can
thing?
stand up.
Okay,
You
but
can
why
stand
are
up.
you? Why do you stand?
You can
up?
stand up, and we can.
Okay, I'm just worried the
sit
clips
here.
are gonna make me look really small.
No,
so,
we'll
okay.
zoom in. We'll zoom
Okay,
in.
thanks.
We'll be good.
Okay.
How's your 2026 going?
Actually, minus the stock market, great.
Yeah.
So it's the pace of change in AI is incredible.
Yeah.
We're having an insane amount of fun on. We're building a set of future agents that are going to be able to do much more complex work with your unstructured data, and just the rate at which the best practices of how to do that are changing, and the research out there. So we're having a great time.
Yeah, what's your process like? Are you actually tinkering with different models yourself? Do you have teams that are dedicated to transformation in AI? Is everyone working on it distributed? How are you thinking about that?
Well, the main thing I focus on is just the agents we're building, which is a relatively small team.
Yeah.
So you can kind of, you can see them across 3 rows of engineers, and we just spend, basically 24/7 pushing the limits on what you can do with an AI agent that has access to your enterprise content. And so the things that I've seen that we get excited by are just, we wouldn't have been able to do a brainstorm that this would be possible 2 years ago. Like you wouldn't know architecturally how you could pull off what we're now able to literally do. You wouldn't have been in the sphere of possibility. So that's what makes us so excited is when you look at things like Claude Cowork, Codex, obviously Claude Code, and you see this idea of long-running agents that can basically use any amount of tools, work with any amount of data. They don't really run into the same context limits that we would have run into maybe a year ago. Yeah. Now imagine that for any form of knowledge work with all of your enterprise data. That's what we get excited by.
Do you think the labs are arms dealers today? Ben Thompson posted. He said, what did he say here? He said, in other words, for the last decade of the SaaS story has been about growing the pie. The next decade is going to be about fighting for it, and the model makers will be arms dealers.
Yeah. Well, I think they almost empirically are going to be arms dealers. Yeah. I think the pie, the only thing, and I haven't read the whole piece yet, but I think the only thing I might take exception to is I think the markets are still in positive sum territory.
Sure.
Because what's going to happen is you're going to use software for now the labor side of that workflow. Mm-hmm. And I think people kind of tend to miss this, which is if I have software that helps me manage contracts, and we have a lot of customers that put their contracts in Box. Yep. Now all of a sudden, agents running through those contracts lets us at Vox tap into another form of spend that we couldn't have tapped into before. So that's just full TAM expansion when you kind of look across all of the different categories of work that AI agents will now be able to go and augment. And to be fair, we're still very early in that trend. So I understand why maybe Wall Street hasn't kind of fully priced in that dynamic, but we're seeing it within our customer base. So that's what gives us obviously the confidence of this direction. Yeah,
there was an interesting take about the fact that yes, you can vibe code a point solution for a specific problem, but if you have a database, if you have a relationship with a company, there's a reason. There was one take that I think it was John Gruber was saying like, oh, people will just vibe code all the software that they hate. And it's like, no, the reason that they hate the software is because they can't get off of it no matter what they want. They can't move to a startup. They're stuck there. Companies have hostages, not customers sometimes. And I'm wondering about the value of a database, the value of actually being deeply integrated into an enterprise and how sticky that is.
Yeah, obviously the setup of the hostage thing, I might take some exception with, but
Alex Rampell.
But
he wasn't talking about you.
No, it's very easy to move your files around, so we have to earn our keep every single day. But I do think that there's truth to obviously the more data you have inside of a system of record, the more effectively locked in you are, and it has historically been hard to change those systems. But I don't think that would be my defense of software. My defense of software would be that you've specifically defined your business workflows in a deterministic manner in these systems. And obviously, if your workflow is changing, pretty rapidly, then it would make sense maybe to change a vendor. But if you're Ford and you're doing your supply chain on an ERP system, You want that to work the exact same way every single time. You know, the billions of transactions going through that ERP system. You cannot take for granted. And so the idea that you're going to go vibe code that is to me sort of, not possible, or at least very, not likely. But then the other point is that your company has a fixed amount of IT resources. And you have to decide what you want to go spend your time on as an organization. And do you want to go spend time on, rebuilding something that the market can supply you and they've seen the best practices thousands of times? Or do you want to go and build that out with your N of one experience? Obviously, maybe trusting the agent has seen enough examples. Or do you want to spend your limited, scarce resources on building software and building experiences that will make you more money and that will actually be used by your customers? I think, on the margin, the average enterprise is going to spend their time and energy on the latter. So interestingly, I end up in this weird spot, which is I'm 100% bullish on vibe coding. I'm 100% bullish that we're going to have 100 times more software, but that still doesn't yet cross the threshold where I would want to go and build our own CRM system. It's just not worth it relative to all the other things that we can go and
how
develop.
has your software buying process changed? Or priority set changed?
Yeah, I mean, we're. I would say that we are relatively locked into a core set of vendors. We are going to deploy agents on those vendors. We might bias slightly toward the agents that those vendors offer, assuming that they offer competitive agents, and then we'll have a set of agents. We build ours for a large portion of knowledge work use cases, but we'll use agents from different kind of SaaS providers as well. And I think that's why I think that AI is basically total upside for SaaS because agents are going to need a system of record to work within. There needs to be a traffic cop of what that agent can access and how did you define the workflow. And there's got to be a user that can access an interface that the agent is providing updates into. So you still need software for all of that. And assuming that you have an incumbent vendor that remains very competitive and very engaged and they're able to build for where the world is going, then I would basically bias on existing software that owns those workflows or data. At the same time, I think there's going to be a large number of new categories that emerge simply because there's no incumbent or because the incumbent is asleep at the wheel. And that's going to produce all of these new startup opportunities. So I'm just generally bullish on software broadly, assuming that it's from vendors that understand the mandate on what they have to build with AI.
What segment of software are you, like, if you're bullish broadly, is there a subcategory that you're particularly bearish on? Because I think obviously everyone's just selling software today. If you sell a digital product at all, you're getting sold. But obviously, I think a lot of people in the industry feel that it's very oversold at this point, right? There's great companies trading at.
I think you could probably design this perfect quotient that captured what's the network effect within the software. So how many users are sort of touching the tool, how much data is being stored in that system, and how much gets added. How many connectors across other applications are there? And then how valuable or mission critical is the workflow that software is involved in? So and then maybe with one X factor of is that company, sort of priced to perfection in terms of what their seat price is and what they're charging their customers. But I look at, those 4 or 5 variables, and you could kind of look across SaaS, and I see a lot of names that are being sold that it just is not on the list of things that I think get disrupted by AI. And if anything, probably they're things that you use more of as you have more AI. And
when I think of something that if you could open up a fresh install of that piece of software and do the same work that you would have done with with something that you've had installed for a decade, and it's the same, it's that can be replaced. But if you're no, I don't want to open up a brand new CRM because it won't have the history of a decade and all my workflow customized and stuff
I think that's a perfect heuristic. And so that obviously puts a lot of pressure on if your personal productivity with no network effect, with limited sort of data that's aggregated, that's a danger zone.
Yeah.
And then it all kind of is a function of that versus the opposite end, which is your Oracle and it's an ERP system and your whole business runs on it. And what we spend our time on is thinking about, okay, when a customer has 1 million or 10 million or 100 million documents in Box, how do we make that data, a 10 or 100 times more valuable than it was before?
Yep.
And so we come in from the perspective of you've spent years in many cases building up your security permissions, your access controls, your workflows, and the amount of data in that system. So our job now is to make sure that agents can run within that environment and add more and more value.
Yep.
And as long as we can deliver that, we believe our position is very defensible.
Yeah, the perfect example would be like style transfer for images. Like people were using Lensa, then they all went to Studio Ghibli moment. Then as soon as Nano Banana came out, they were like, I got to turn myself into a dinosaur. And it doesn't require any like pre-work or like knowledge of who you are. It's like you upload a photo, you get a photo back, and you're good. And then if there's a new app, you can just do the same thing because your camera roll is actually where the photos live, and that's what's important.
That might be a hard company to go public.
If it was just that, of course they have a million other things going on. But like, if you're just that, where it's like, okay, open the fresh app, get the output, and then move on with your day. That's the risk.
Companies of Box's size, where do you think are generally getting leverage that is under discussed right now? Like, is your like in-house legal saying, oh, we actually can adapt headcount planning because we're just way more efficient?
Yeah, I think my general take is just what are the 3, 5, 10 things that would have been in your work queue that you didn't get around to that now agents let you go and deploy. Mm-hmm. So if you're in legal, it's what are the contracts that you were waiting on that were bottlenecking a deal? Mm-hmm. What are the size customer that you wouldn't have supported reviewing a contract for because the revenue threshold wasn't high enough to make the ROI worth it? What is the marketing campaign that you couldn't deliver because you didn't translate it in X language because it was too expensive. So you kind of go through an enterprise and you kind of look through at all of those use cases, and that's what we're spending our time on. So we use agents to go and do more and more of the work that I just mentioned. Obviously, a lot of agents on the coding side. So my expectation is our roadmap should be, let's say 2 to 3 times larger maybe in a year from now than it was a year ago. Mm-hmm. And the reason you can do that is because every engineer should be able to produce 2 or 3 times more code. And while that's not like the most important metric, ultimately that does correlate to how much software we're producing. So I think what's going to happen, and I think you're seeing this trend already, which is we all collectively are going to have much more ambitious product roadmaps. Mm-hmm. We're going to all build out way more software. Mm-hmm. I don't think that will mean that we charge an amount that is correlated with how much more software we built. I do think it means more competition in these spaces. Mm-hmm. But I think many of these markets are still largely untapped, and so that's still why you have a positive sum dynamic as a result of that.
Makes sense. Talk to me about the huge, big models, expensive frontier stuff versus like smaller models, or maybe even just an earlier model that you implemented in some sort of like minor workflow, and then it just like stuck around, like transcription. I'm sure you've been doing transcription of documents for a long time. Yeah, it's gotten better, but do you really need to throw Opus 4.5 or 5.2 Pro edit? Like you can probably leave some things in place. Like how are you deciding that? Is this showing up in costs at all?
I think it is. I think that it probably maybe wouldn't be as extreme as you've set it up. But I think the general, maybe the continuum I'd argue would be like you've got the Gemini Flash family on one end. Yep. And then you've got the Opus family on the other end. Sure. That's kind of your continuum. Yep. And that continuum is sort of moving up over time in terms of capability. Sure. So maybe something was a Gemini 2.5 Flash use case a year ago. Yep. We'd probably move that to Gemini 3 Flash just because that extra 2 or 3 points of even if it's transcription or data extraction, still valuable, and you can now deliver that at the same cost that you could have previously. Yeah. So it's less of an area that we want to lower costs. It's more where if we can sustain current cost level but add incremental value to the customer, we'll probably do that all day long. Yeah. I think we're going to be in this kind of maybe general sort of point in the curve for a couple of years, and then I think you'll see real bifurcation, which is the stuff that is just fully solved will just get cheaper over time, and then the frontier work that is basically where you are making a $100 an hour knowledge worker 2 to 3 times more productive. We will just continue to use the best-in-class model for that work as software companies and generally as a society, and I think that will sustain for the next decade. I don't see that slowing down at all, simply because these models just keep getting better and better. But it will be this really interesting bimodal effect, which is like if you're a pharma researcher, you're going to want whatever Opus 5 is and whatever GPT-6 is and so on. And if you're doing some back-end, transaction processing, you'll be fine with whatever the Gemini Flash of that period is, and that's how we'll kind of split the costs. Yeah.
What industry outside of tech do you think is the most AGI pilled? 'Cause I'm assuming you have a customer that you get on, let's say with a large customer, catching up with the CEO, and maybe they're in some, not on the coast, maybe they're in energy, something like that, or financial services, and who's like as fired up as you are?
Yeah, I would say it's a fantastic question that I will totally evade because I think it's actually much more sort of
Company by company.
Yeah, it's company by company as opposed to like it's a specific sector. So there's some. I mean, like my bias in general would be information heavy businesses. So businesses where a CEO sits around and says, I just know we're sitting on 10 million documents that have the answer to every single customer question we could ever imagine. And if I could only have an agent go and mine that information, then my employees would be 20 or 30 or 50% more productive. So the companies that have that kind of information are the ones that obviously are going to increasingly be more AGI pilled. So that's professional services firms, that's consulting firms, that's financial services firms, that's law firms in a lot of cases where they just know that like we seem to spend a disproportionate amount of our time redoing the work that has already been done in the past. Why can't we take advantage of all of the information we've produced so that next incremental project is 90% faster and 2x the kind of quality of output because it wasn't some new person having to kind of get caught up. And then we can go and deploy our time on better customer relationships or creating more value in new ways. So I'll have things like CEOs will call me and say, I know I'm sitting on 10,000 contracts. I want to figure out how can I go and sell this new capability to someone based on the terms I have in the contracts. And that's simply an exercise of do you have an agent that could go through every contract and just tell you the insights of you're trying to find a sponsorship for this brand and this particular client in this contract has the rights to go do that. How do you connect those dots amongst a large data set? Those are the companies that I think are extremely excited.
Are you seeing any effects of the build out or bottlenecks show up in your business? Like we've seen the prices of memory spike. Western Digital stock is way up. Like I imagine like you're probably a few layers removed from these prices moving, but is it affecting you or are you worried about it? Are you losing sleep?
Well, first of all, as a storage guy, I love that they're finally getting their day. So if you've been
Let's give it up for Western Digital.
And Seagate.
And Seagate
can we get another bell for Seagate?
For Seagate.
I mean,
underappreciated.
Think about how forgotten these companies were. And they're just like, oh, there's little circles on a disk, and they are now the coolest companies.
Yeah, it's important.
And so storage is hot. And it's actually very funny because like, we are literally in the storage business, and for years everyone thought, well, that's a commodity. In the AI era, the data is the most important asset you have.
Sure.
So the ability to get the right data to an agent is simply the most strategic thing you can do. So wherever you are in that stack, if you're the infrastructure, if you're the software layer, if you're building an agent.
It's a shame the data is the new oil was kind of ruined.
Yes, we used it in the wrong era.
But it was actually right.
It was not the oil back then.
Now it is.
Can we just bring it back?
We need to rehab that phrase.
So I think now we actually can justifiably sort of say that. And actually in most companies when you say I want to go deploy AI or I want to have an AI strategy, usually what underpins that is a data strategy.
Sure.
You don't have an AI strategy if you don't have a data strategy. So that's the I think that'll be the story of the next decade. What was your question?
My question was like, is it keeping you up at night where you're like, okay,
I see.
Because you sell a service that's you're not actually just saying, well, I bought this. You're not a Western Digital or Seagate reseller. So it's not like I just put 20% margin on top.
We have pretty locked in infrastructure from our long-term kind of public cloud contracts. So
give it up for being locked in.
Okay. Okay. Is there a bingo card that I should are there other things? When do we take shots?
We can't tell.
We can't tell.
Oh no, locked in.
Random.
Is that grind one? If I found
grind would be good.
Okay.
If you talk about private equity, we'll give it up for private equity. All the usual things. Everyone we love.
So so we have locked in contracts for our public cloud.
Yep.
I would say more of the inverse. In a world of complete abundance of, let's say, data center capacity, we would just, we would be able to deliver even more to our customers because the rate of the price of AI would just go down. So So, I want a world of just, I want solar data I want, space data centers.
Yeah.
I just want everything.
Yeah.
Because that will just mean space
There we
data
go.
centers
There
for
we
one?
go. Everyone's pumped up about space
Oh
data
my
centers.
God, there's
Well,
a
read the
secret
timeline.
list.
You know
Okay.
people are excited
All right.
about this.
Okay, yeah.
You
So-
always knew that Twitter would end up in space.
Yeah, you called
Obviously,
this, right?
100%.
That's why you got
That
on the
was-
platform so early. That's why you have
Yeah,
a million
that's why you
followers.
got a million
You were like, I
followers.
need
You're
a
like-
million followers on the SpaceX social
You're a
network.
space influencer
I'm buying
now.
early.
We are. I'm glad that my tweets are training.
Yes.
The future of space.
Space.
So, can you just imagine you're like an alien? and
Every time you tweet,
this is your first access to
They
information.
run
Yeah.
ads that then pay for the next space rocket that goes to Mars.
Then
That's what you're
actually,
doing.
we're not
You're
tweeting
doing
enough. We
Yeah,
need to be.
tweeting
It's
more.
like a
Posting on the
this,
SpaceX social.
This is a
When
patriotic
aliens
duty.
come,
Yes.
they're gonna desperately want to learn about enterprise SaaS. They're like, we don't care about your religions. We don't care about
Hopefully.
anything else.
They're like, why did SaaS? What was SaaS pricing in January of 2026? Why was it a problem? Yeah. So I just want AI to be super cheap.
Yeah,
And the
that makes
cheaper it
sense.
gets, the more we're going to use it.
Well, that's a great
So,
place to end it.
Thank
Thank you. Let's give it up for
Dude, great to meet in
AI.
person,
Yeah,
finally.
great to meet
Thank
in
you.
person.
Thank you.
Joe. This is fantastic.
Take
Enjoy
care.
the rest of your day.
Do I just leave now?
Yeah,
How's
you
that?
leave
Okay,
because
good.
I'm going
Give
to tell
it a
everyone about
little
Sentry.
salute.
Sentry shows developers what's broken and helps them fix it fast. That's why 150,000 organizations use it to keep their apps working. And up next, we have Chuck Robbins, the CEO of Cisco, live in person
Man of the
at
hour.
the Cisco AI Summit. Chuck, great to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much for
We're
taking the time.
so
to come
pumped
chat
for
with
this.
us.
Sorry I'm late.
No, you're doing
you're
great.
good.
We're
Well,
hanging
Aaron
out.
went
We're
long,
having a
I'm
great
sure,
time.
though.
Yeah, I mean, you have a busy day today.
Man of the
Take us
hour.
through it. How is the Cisco AI Summit going?
It's going great.
Okay. What's top of mind? What are the
there's
top
so
key things?
much.
Obviously
So
AI, but
much.
let's go a cut deeper.
No, it's AI. That's it.
Okay, that's it.
yeah.
People are fine.
No,
As long as you said AI, we check the
we
box.
talked about everything from world models to
Yeah. Oh.
to infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
required. We're going to get this afternoon. We're going to get into trust and security,
Right.
geopolitics.
Yep.
We talked about models and how they're evolving. We talked about some of the emerging agents and things that are happening with agents right
Yeah.
now. And I mean, the whole ecosystem's here, so it's pretty cool.
Can you
Incredible.
compare it to Davos? I know you've been involved. I know you're there. How was Davos this year? We were sort of noting that, at least in our world, it felt like tech had really come to bear this Davos, and there were a lot of really frontier discussions about technology that maybe a couple of years were a little bit quieter at Davos.
Yeah, if you walk the main drag, I mean, all the tech companies had
Yeah.
their own houses, right?
Yeah.
And the crypto guys were gone. I think, for sure. Davos was it was interesting because there was such a geopolitical backdrop that was going on. So it was there was a lot of tension.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion around this intersection of the geopolitical situation and technology, honestly, and then the sovereign requirements that are coming up around the world. Those are big things. But AI was a huge discussion. Global economy, what's happening in the economy? Is there a diversion? Is there a split? And then the geopolitical tension was probably the third thing.
Yeah, talk about how that's even just taken up your time over the last couple of years in a way that maybe it wasn't.
Just
10
the
years
last
ago.
couple?
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's
Yeah.
even been massively
bigger.
elevated,
Yeah.
even in recent years.
Yeah, it's it's been I'd say the last decade we've had not always geopolitical, but there were always macro issues that were overhangs on what we were thinking and taking up time. Whether it's if you go back to, we had sort of leading into the pandemic, and then you had supply chain crisis, you had inflationary issues, we had social issues in the world, and we have trade issues, tariff issues, we have the geopolitical trust issues, and so it's I spend a fair amount of time. I probably spend I'd say double the amount of time today, whatever that is, versus what I did 7, 8 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's important, and you have no choice. And we launched a whole suite of sovereign software capabilities and sovereign product capabilities earlier this year for customers in Europe, Asia, anywhere around the world, if they want to have technology that they can run locally and feel good about. And so it's affecting how we develop products. It's affecting how we package them. How our these governments and customers in these countries run the products. It affects how frequently they're going to get innovation versus not get innovation. I mean, it's a big impact.
Internationally, our government leaders more of the key stakeholders that you're interfacing with, or is it CEOs of technology companies in those countries that you're dealing with?
It's both, but I think a lot of these issues that we're discussing right now are driven from the central governments and then have to be implemented by the
And
CEOs.
sovereign AI.
Yeah,
Got
sovereign.
it. Okay. Can you take us back, since this is the first time on the show, and talk a little bit about your background growing up? I'm particularly interested in, you studied math, and I was reflecting with Jordy the other day about how I grew up watching Star Wars. You have C-3PO, it's a talking robot, and I didn't really internalize that would be something that kind of happens in my lifetime. And I'm wondering what your vision, your processing of science fiction, your processing of AI was throughout your career, because now it's here and you're experiencing it like everyone else. But what was your
So many of the
journey like?
movies and cartoons and things that we grew up with were all futuristic, and now we're actually building all that technology to make it real. I mean, think about the Jetsons, or
The cars drive themselves.
Cars
right
driving
outside.
themselves, even simple things like the amount of video that we do, and you're on another video and you're I mean, back then it was like that was somewhat science fiction, and now all of a sudden it's the way we do business every day.
Yeah.
And I think that but these things take time. I mean, Fei Li was in there earlier today, and she was talking about when the whole concept of self-driving cars began. It was over 20 years ago. And here we are, and we're just getting these rolling in. Waymo here in San Francisco as an example, and so they take a while to deploy. But my background, I had a mathematical sciences degree with a concentration in computer science. And I was a strange combination of a complete nerd and an athlete at the same time. I have these pictures on my phone, honestly. One's where I'm dunking on a guy in a basketball game, and then the picture right next to it is literally me on a team of about 6 people, which was the math team, and I looked like the biggest nerd you've ever seen in your life. And they had those were like
Got to be able to do both.
It was really odd. So I started my career coding, and COBOL programmers are in demand now, so I got a second job if I need it. I got a backdrop there.
Plan B.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very funny. And then tell me a little bit about the journey to Cisco, where you were working before, and the decision to join.
That's funny. Have you heard this story?
A little bit.
Okay, I was going to say
We've heard it,
that's
but
an
we want-
interesting
we
one
want
for you to
others.
ask.
Our audience hasn't.
So there
heard
must
it,
be
and
you must have heard
I
something
wanna
here.
hear it again.
So I was working for what is now Bank of America, actually back in the day, and when I was programming, my leadership came and said, "Hey, we got these things called local area networks popping up all over the bank, and we don't know what they are, but we've hired 3 analysts, but we need someone to manage them." I literally on the way home, I stopped and bought Land magazine. How weird is that? There was actually a magazine
We
called
gotta
Land
find.
magazine.
We gotta
gotta
find
find a
old
copy of that.
editions.
Yeah.
Of that,
I grew up doing LAN parties. You bring all
of course you do.
all
Yeah.
your video games together, and I love that Cisco invented the LAN.
Oh yeah,
The
we,
LAN.
and so anyway, I left coding and went over and started running this team, and we did an evaluation between Cisco and Wellfleet Communications, which was Cisco's original competitor. Long story long. I was talking to the sales rep, and I said to him, I said, well, first of all, I said he's got a really nice car and he's got a nice house, and so it's like, wow,
The margins are pretty high. Over
that's pretty
there, aren't
good.
they? Can you give me a
So
better price?
I literally said to him, I said, I think I could do what you do. And so as it turns out, like, I don't know, probably within a year or so, they came to me and said, "Hey, we have an opportunity." This guy was getting promoted, and there was a territory opening up, and so I moved into sales at that time, and that was '92. And I competed with Cisco, and it was literally the 2 companies were like Coke and Pepsi. I mean, it was that bad. It was like brutal.
And
And
this
then,
is Ascend?
no, this was at Wellfleet.
Okay, Wellfleet.
And so Cisco was trying to get me to come to work for them after 2 or 3 years at Wellfleet, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I did a stint at Ascend for 11 months.
Yeah, okay.
And then finally in '97, my wife, there was a patch that came open as a sales rep where everything I had to do was driving, and I'd be home every night. We had small kids, and my wife's like, "Sign it,
Sign it.
just sign
Sign it.
it."
That's
So
What car did you pick?
What car?
Yeah.
What kind of car did I have?
Because you see this other sales guy. He drives a nice car.
Oh, I see.
That
see. Yeah.
carries a little bit forward. It sends
Well-
a signal. It can send a signal of confidence. It can also sell a signal of
I'm
high
not
margins.
I'm not going to tell you what I drove.
Okay.
Like,
All fair.
yeah, we over time I
This was
elevated
the late
myself.
90s. It was the late 90s.
I got up to a BMW at some
Okay,
point,
that's
but
good,
it
that's
wasn't
good.
that
That's
wasn't
good.
what I was driving at the time.
Okay, then talk about the journey through Cisco. We're in this very interesting time. There's another technology boom. It feels like markets are extremely volatile. We saw this with Microsoft, like one small change, the stock moves massively. At the same time, you've watched self-driving cars evolve. It takes 20 years. There's this balance of like patience and aggression. And I want to know, how are you communicating to your customers, your employees about times when you need to be moving aggressively but cautiously, balancing all of that? That seems like the hardest job for you right
We
now.
just had Kevin Scott on from Microsoft,
Yeah.
and he said we have this infinite patience for the messiness of these transitions, which I thought was a really good
That's a
line.
great
yeah.
line.
So Kevin, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal
yours
it.
now.
At least I credited him
Yeah.
once. But you have to. You can't wait. You have to jump in, and you got to go. And a lot of what we're trying to do right now is, we have to build. We're obviously building the infrastructure that supports all this. We're trying to build the security solutions that help our customers, have the trust that they need and feel good about deploying these things. So, it's we've gone through these in the past. I mean, it's the only one thing that's close to it from a scale perspective was just the advent of the internet.
Yeah.
Back in the late '90s, and this I think it's moving faster.
I agree.
The implications are. It's hard to even believe this, but probably more profound than even what we did back then.
Yeah.
And so you have to be willing. We always talk about if you got 80% of the information you need to make a decision, you better make it and go, or you're going to get left behind. You got to go. And so you do the best you can. You adjust on the fly, and you try to. Your number one priority is not to hurt your customer. So.
Do you think it's easier to predict the future than it is to predict the timeline that change will actually happen?
Really good question.
Just because with the internet boom, it was obvious that we were going to be buying things online. We were going to be buying, paying for software. We're going to be getting all these
Chewy.com
services,
exists,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
We would
Pets.com is
have,
not the right
something
company.
something
That's
like a
right.
DoorDash, but then
Yeah.
the timeline, and
Home
I feel like
grocer, web van.
the decision that every CEO management team are trying to work through right now is they're having to make predictions around the timeline that these changes are going to happen on, and that feels. Even with the rate of change that everyone's feeling today, it still feels like wildly unpredictable.
It is, and I think the reality is that the timeline gets dictated by how good you feel about the capabilities and the security of the solutions and the data access and all that stuff. So it's not like our customers are sitting around saying, "I wonder what the timeline is." They're all trying to actually force the timeline themselves. They're trying to get there. But I think I equate this to. At a much different level, but you think about the iPhone in 2007, none of us had any idea the applications we'd be running on that device 10 years later. And what we do with it today, I mean, it's just, and so I think this is going to be that on steroids. We don't know. I mean, just look at the, what was it,
Moltbot.
There's a few different
Moltbook
names.
today.
Yeah, yeah.
Moltbook this week,
Yeah.
the
If you're talking
AI
about Reddit,
social network.
AI social network, that's
AI
Moltbook.
social network. And then there's ClaudeBot,
Yeah,
all these
now
things.
OpenClaw.
OpenClaw.
Yeah.
And these are like, I mean, they're taking everything by storm.
Yep.
And you made the joke, like Pets.com doesn't exist, but Chewy does. In many cases, you think about pioneers versus settlers and the different outcomes for each of them. We'll see who makes it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Is getting lucky underrated? We talked last week about Apple's like work on the self-driving car is what enabled them to be in the position to have the Mac Mini
seed of
be a
the
great
Apple Silicon project.
Apple Silicon.
Luck and timing matters so much. I mean, it's. I became CEO. There was a lot of luck and timing involved, right? I happened to be the person who was there. If my predecessor decided to retire 5 years earlier, I wouldn't have gotten the job.
Wow.
I mean, it's just there's a lot of luck and a lot of timing. Now, there's also you create your luck sometimes, right? But I think it's always part of the whole outcome.
Can you talk a little bit about CEO to CEO communication? There's a lot of really high stakes, high flying deal making between big companies. There's press releases that go out, and then there's comments from each CEO, and the deal evolves. And I'm wondering about what it takes to, build a relationship with a CEO that you're going to do a big deal with, and what it takes as that deal evolves and as the communications go out. Like, how do you maintain a relationship when so much is on the line?
It's always better to build a relationship before the big deal, so that the big deal becomes easier because you've already built the trust. It's sort of like dealing with a time of crisis. I think when COVID came along, if you had great trust with your employee base and they believed in you, then you could navigate through that a lot better than if your culture was good. That was good. And so I think these relationships are really important. The CEO community in the United States, honestly, is very tight. I remember when I became CEO, there was one of them at one of the first CEO events I went to, and he handed me his cell number and he said, "Listen, these people in this room are the only people that know what you're getting ready to go through, and so you need to get to know and make sure you call and talk and ask us old guys,
Wow.
when you get into it." So I think the CEO community is very close. I think some of the number of deals right now, I think in many cases the public narrative about what's going on isn't reflective of what's really happening behind the scenes, because most CEOs are very pragmatic. There's not a lot of emotion. You're just sitting there. You're cutting out a deal. If somebody has a different opinion about it, you're not getting mad. You're trying to just get to the outcome. And I think that's the pragmatism and the calmness that most CEOs have. And I think that sometimes the press and others like to create the drama because that's what people click on.
Yeah, if anyone sticks a bunch of microphones in your face, be careful.
We move away quickly.
Quick.
It just happened, by the way.
We got you.
We got to get the flash effects.
Where are the paparazzi? If we flip it around, give us some advice for the youngest cohort of folks who will be joining Cisco. What does it take to succeed? What's your advice for people that are going into the
people that want to take your job one day?
Yeah, maybe.
Come on, hurry up. I think the people who are wildly successful have this really incredible combination of in our industry. Understand the technology, have high EQ, really care about the mission of the team, and understand that if the team's success is, anybody who says I don't care about my own success is lying to you. But the person who figures out that when the team succeeds, I'm going to succeed, so it's easy for me to focus on the team. And then you also have to have people who care about making sure their peers are successful as well. And I think it's the person who's solely focused on getting to the top as an individual, it's not going to happen. And that so it's a combination of those technical skills and the high EQ. I can't underestimate.
Yeah.
Or understate.
You talked about you've talked in the past about effectively doing the job that you want already, and as a way to kind of like work your way
leadership
up the ranks.
before promotion.
You guys actually do your research, don't you?
We do.
I tell people that if your peer group would look at your promotion announcement and just go, that makes perfect sense, then you've done your job, right? And if you can't look in the mirror and say, okay, those people, would they be happy? And would they believe it was the right decision? And if they wouldn't, then you're probably not quite where you ought to be. And I think that, I tell everybody too, my team hates when I say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I think when we have 2 or 3 internal candidates for a promotion, the whole interview process is stupid to me. It's like we've been watching these people work for a decade. What are we going to learn about them when we sit down in a room for 30 minutes and ask them questions? When we watched them work, can't we just look at the 3 of them and I translate that to every day you're working is your interview for your next job. That should be your work every day should be your interview for the next promotion. And now, if you've got external candidates, certainly you have to get to know them and learn all those things. But when it comes down to 2 internal candidates, I just say, why are we doing this? But we do it anyway. So.
What's keeping you up at night? There's
Nothing.
a number of nothing.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, how do you
great.
handle how did you learn to handle stress? Because over the last few years, you had COVID, we've had so many different geopolitical tension, trade wars, all these things. What's your you seem unfazed, but
I've always been able to compartmentalize things, and I have always, it's innate. I did not teach myself this. I've always been able to just put aside things I can't control. You plan for them. You come up with different scenario plans, but you don't. I mean, I'm not going to wake at night and worry about something that might happen that I have no control over. So
That's a good mantra.
and you know, look, I've gone home when I've had a really bad day and I've looked at my wife and I say, "You want to hear the good news?" And I say, "I wasn't diagnosed with cancer today." And somebody was, and I wasn't. So my worst day, if I'm not being diagnosed with cancer or some sort of terminal illness, tomorrow I'll get up and fight another fight. You know, fight another fight. And you just got to have perspective.
I love it. Well,
So-
thank you so much for coming.
Thank
on
you.
The show.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah, it's an honor,
Thank you.
honor to meet.
Nice to meet you guys.
Very
Keep
happy.
doing
Love
it. You guys have got a real good product.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Before we bring in our next guest, let me tell you about Plaid. Plaid powers the apps you use to spend, save, borrow, and invest, securely connecting bank accounts to move money, fight fraud, and improve lending, now with AI. And
Chuck,
up next,
what a legend.
what a legend. Without further ado, we have Jitu Patel, Cisco's President and Chief Product Officer. Welcome to the show.
All right, John.
Look at this fit. Looking sharp.
You know, you got to cover more of yourself up, and you don't look as good now.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
How is the Cisco AI Summit going? Are you happy? How are you feeling?
I am thrilled. You know, the thing is I think we are at a juncture right now where these conversations with a range of topics with the ecosystem are actually far more important than any individual company talking about a product that they're trying to peddle.
Yeah.
And I feel like the realization is now pretty obvious to everyone that this is an ecosystem play. Like no company,
Yeah.
us included,
Yeah.
is going to be able to actually get the full stack
Yeah.
built out.
I mean, a
by
couple of years
ourselves.
ago, people were saying that either, like one AI company will completely dominate, and we have like multiple IPOs going out. XAI is part of SpaceX now. Like lots of companies are succeeding.
And I think like this whole notion of a zero-sum mentality
Yeah.
is, I just don't think it's healthy.
It's never been true in tech.
It's never been true in tech, but it's actually more false now than ever before.
Totally.
Because the complexity is so high and the breadth is so high and the scale is so fast that if you just get arrogant thinking you're going to do everything by yourself,
Yeah.
you are guaranteed to be left behind.
Okay. Well, first time on the show. Let's
Yes.
back up, introduce yourself,
Thank you for having me.
and I'd love to know a little bit of, Cisco's a large company. Walk me through a little bit of the org chart that sits under you, where you work, who you're interfacing with, what projects you're working on.
So I've been here for about 5.5 years,
Yeah.
and I joined here.
Success.
Congratulations. We're very happy about that.
And
We have a soundboard, by the way.
I know I watch your show, so that's great. So
Some people don't know that we bring it with us.
Still a surprise.
surprises you when it actually happens because you don't expect it.
Yeah.
But so been here for 5.5 years. I joined from Box.
Yeah.
And I was chief product officer there. Prior to that, I was at EMC. Prior to that, I ran my own business for like 17 years in Chicago.
Cool.
And so I went the other way, where I
Yeah.
actually started really small,
Small,
and then
bigger,
I
bigger,
actually
bigger.
got the itch for scale. I'm like, I really want to learn scale.
Okay.
And that's what got me to the Valley. That's what got me to these large-scale organizations. And the reason I'm really enamored with scale is it takes a little longer to get there sometimes.
Sure.
But once it gets there, like there's a movement that gets created.
Yeah. So talk about either the org structure or the product surface that you oversee. How you're explaining everything that Cisco does, because it's such a large organization now.
Yeah, we have a very broad portfolio.
Yeah.
And so, everything from our core business, which is networking,
Yeah.
to then the very, kind of close adjacency, which is security.
Yeah.
Because security is now getting baked into the fabric of
Yeah.
the network. So that's,
So services, software on top of that.
yes, but
Also
SaaS
security
services and hardware.
Yep.
And so we have, we don't only play in a range of different businesses,
Yeah.
but we also play with multiple different business models. So we have a hardware business.
Yeah.
We have a perpetual software business.
Yep.
We've got a SaaS business in each one of these areas.
Yeah.
So networking, security, Splunk, which was a massive acquisition that we made, collaboration, WebEx, contact center, all of those products. Basically all products. What we did was we decided about a year and a half ago, and Chuck, who you just interviewed, we were talking about this for 5.5 years, which is Cisco has to become much more of a platform rather than feel like a holding company.
Sure.
Where you don't have each individual product that's kind of in its own silo, because then you don't get the benefit of the breadth of Cisco and the tailwind of Cisco. But our breadth had become our liability. And so what we had to do was fundamentally kind of rethink how we're going to build our products. And it had to become a platform. Platform being that the marginal cost of ingestion goes down and there's a compounding value to every single kind of, every time you build new functionality, it doesn't just help with the product that you're buying, but also helps with every product you purchased in the past.
Yeah.
And can other people add value to the platform that you've built? So that's the core definition. And that's what we started doing. And we consolidated all products together about 18 months ago. And I think it's been fantastic so far. Like there's a spring in the step in the employees. I think we are starting to see a fair amount of innovation. We've actually innovated more in the past 18 months than the previous decade combined, and I think it'll dwarf in comparison to what we'll do in the next 12 to 18.
That's awesome. Yeah, talk more about Splunk and how that fits in specifically to the amount of data that's being created in the AI era. It feels like a very fortuitous acquisition, but what's the response been on the ground?
We were lucky on the Splunk side because it's very hard to find a company that is at scale with the right cultural fit, with the right technology adjacency, where the combination actually creates a 1 + 1 equals 11. And I think Splunk happened to be one of those. There aren't that many of those. Like a lot of times people will ask me, like, what's the next big acquisition? I'm like, if I found one, I wouldn't be shy to deploy the balance sheet, but there's just not that many that are out there. Either they're very frothy in the valuation, they're not, or they don't have a clear adjacency. We don't have the right go-to-market. We don't have the right cultural fit. Like there's a bunch of things that have to fit just right. And so that was, very lucky with Splunk. And the thesis over there was, look, you have to assume that the attacker is already in the system, and what you're trying to prevent is lateral movement. And if you're trying to prevent lateral movement, security is a data game, and the more data you have and the more data that can be correlated, the better off you're going to be at compressing the time for investigation, doing better detections, and doing a much better job on the response and remediation. And that's basically what Splunk brings us. And I think we've got a great leader now in Splunk as well, who came from Microsoft and DocuSign, who's doing a fantastic job, Kamal Hathi. And I feel like there's, we have probably hit 2% of the potential that we have in Splunk.
That's awesome.
How have you processed stage by stage the overall AI hype cycle? It sort of perfectly coincides with your time at Cisco. Cisco actually has the scale to have visibility into reality. It's like you're just looking across, like you can just pull up a map and just see like, okay, what's actually happening? How are organizations adopting this, not just in tech, but across the entire economy?
I think there's, I feel like I've always lived by the 6-part framework, which is like important in descending order, which is timing, market, team, product, brand, distribution. If you don't have all 6, you don't win, but you need to make sure that the first one is timing, and you don't control timing.
We were just talking about that with Chuck. It's like it's very easy to predict the future in some ways. Like with the internet,
just not
you
at the
could
right
predict.
time.
Yeah, you just like could be off. Are you off by 5 years?
That's
and
right.
If you're off a plan by 2 years, you could be like it could be done. Like you might not win the market.
And by the way, there's a lot of great products in the market that actually hit the market at the wrong time and they never see light of day. Right. iPad wasn't the first kind of tablet to be built, but it was the one that actually hit the nail on the head on the timing. So I do feel like timing is a disproportionate contributor to success, and you don't actually control timing. So that should tell you that the intellectual arrogance that people carry with themselves, saying that this is me that made this happen, has a ton of luck to it. And so we just happen to be at the right time, at the right place, building infrastructure for 40 years, which is now a scarce commodity. And if you think about GPUs, these GPUs, without being networked, don't really do you any good. Right? And as the models get bigger, the networks actually need to get faster and need to get larger. And so what used to be something that sat on one GPU, then sat on a server with 8 GPUs that needed to get networked, then sat on a rack with multiple servers, then said, okay, I need to go scale out within the data center and have multiple clusters connected together. And now you're starting to see data centers getting connected together in this thing that they call scale across, where you have multiple data centers, depending on where the power is available, hundreds of kilometers apart, that'll actually operate as an ultra cluster coherently for running a training run. And that requires a whole new set of technology and a whole new set of assumptions around physics that have to be challenged, which is what we've been doing, because we build our own silicon, we build our own systems, we build our own software, we build our own kind of platform. So that's been exceptionally beneficial for us. And yes, I would love to say that we capitalized on the opportunity well, but the fact that there was such an intrinsic demand for large-scale data center build-outs is something that's just like we were lucky to be there at the right place at the right time with the right products.
Yeah. Is cross data center training particularly in demand right now? I know Google's had some success with it. Other labs are probably thinking about it and working towards it. Is that something?
It is, and it's actually it's the reason it's important is because you might not find all the power
Yeah.
to juice a single data center,
Yeah.
and so you then have to make sure that you build the data centers where the power is available.
Yep.
And so if you have power grids in two separate locations, you then need to make sure that those get coherently connected. And the problem with training runs is if you drop packets, then you have to restart the training run, which becomes extremely expensive. And so what you need to do then is say, okay, so I'm going to build in the silicon itself technologies for deep buffering so that I can make sure that jitter and packet loss doesn't really go out and affect the training run. And that's been a like we just launched our P200 chip, what we call with the 8223 router, and that's actually going to be it's already in a couple of hyperscalers, but that's an area that I feel is going to have a ton of momentum.
Yeah. How is it being a like a fabless semiconductor company working with TSMC? I know there's Silicon One, which is a 5 nanometer process. Tim Cook was just talking on earnings about maybe some supply issues on the 3 nanometer process. There's always questions of like where bottlenecks emerge, even if they're very temporal. How is it going on scaling actual supply for you?
So the good news is we've been at it for a while.
Yeah.
And we have a pretty broad portfolio. And so volume-wise, we just shipped, like I think it was last quarter, our millionth chip.
Yeah.
And so like it's, we've got, so volume-wise, we've got enough kind of volume of, and I think in this market, scale really matters. And even though you might enjoy scale today, if you don't continue to keep growing the scale, you become subscale very fast. And so there's a level of healthy paranoia that you need to have about continuing to be operating at scale. And so that's been beneficial for us. We have, of course, we work closely with the fabs and all of that to make sure that we get our fair share of, kind of capacity.
Yeah.
But it's also important in the sense that the data center build-outs that are happening require this. And the thing that's been really beneficial for us is we happen to be the offset so that there's not a level of pricing power that our competitors sometimes face. So if you just had one of our competitors providing the network ASICs, and everyone else is just building systems around the network ASICs, then you'd actually have a challenge. So what hyperscalers want to do is make sure that they can offset that by having choices. And so we provide choice to the market. Yeah. And that's been, I mean, we as you saw last year, we had identified, we said we'll do about $1 billion in orders in hyperscalers.
Get ready.
And
how much did you do?
We did north of 2. And then this year in Q1, which was last quarter, we did, like I think it was north of $1.3 billion or so in just the first quarter. So like you can start to see that there's a fair amount of momentum.
Yeah.
But you have to stay paranoid, keep your head down, keep innovating.
What's your pitch to talent that you know is elite that you're trying to, we're in the midst of, last year it felt like you'd sum up the year as like really intense talent war. There's so many companies with so much hype, and I feel like Cisco's approach is like let the metrics sort of speak for themselves, not as hype driven as other parts of the press release economy, let's say. But if you're sitting down with somebody and you have 3 minutes to get them to join Cisco versus another company or lab or something like that, what's your pitch?
My pitch typically is we're very mission driven, and so we want to make sure that we're building critical infrastructure for the AI era for the world, and that's a mission that they have to feel intrinsically connected to and excited about. And it's not just about creating connectivity in that infrastructure, but also keeping it safe and secure. And then just continuing to build the entire full stack. I mean, we build the silicon, we build the systems, we build the operating system, we build the platform, we build the application. So like we've got that full stack. And so if you wanted to develop and grow in a company, and we're very well known to actually get people who don't have experience in a certain area, to put them in. I mean, look at me. I didn't know much about networking when I first came on.
Sure.
And I think I feel like experience is great, in certain areas, but sometimes it can actually create a burden of bias for you. And so having a mixture of experience with inexperience, so that you are having the inexperienced person allow the person with experience to unlearn as fast is really important. And the appeal to people coming in is, look, we're going to build things which are going to be based on the long term. And if you want to learn how to have good, strong leadership foundation principles, Cisco is a great place to be for the long term. But like I'm not. If someone asks me, like, what do you have for your lunch? Is it free lunch? I'm like, you're asking the wrong question. This is the wrong place for it. Like, we're pretty scrappy when it comes to that kind of stuff, and we're proudly scrappy about that stuff. I mean,
What about specific skills that are the most in demand? I mean, there's a lot of roles that are augmented by AI now.
Well, we've heard too about plumbers and electricians flying around and private
they are in
jets.
demand.
But
Yeah.
even sales guys and chip designers, that's not going away anytime soon.
No, I think, look, the roles that have been in demand around enterprise, let's look at the entire business.
Sure.
Like, if you look at enterprise sales, that's always going to be in demand. We're always going to need people in front of customers to say, hey, we need to make sure that we can get you the technology, and the distribution is a massive kind of advantage that we have. But on the chip side, there is not enough people that understand how to etch sand into creating intelligence. Like, we need more of those. And so there's always a shortage of that.
Sure.
There's a shortage in people that are building hardware and systems. There's a shortage in people that are building software. So I don't feel like there's a lack of shortage in any of the areas. But what's now happened is you've added to that an entirely different development model, where you also need researchers for AI. And so we have an AI research team, and that's something that we historically didn't need in the product development cycle. And we've only been doing that for a few years. In addition to the research team, you need to make sure that software development lifecycle itself is changing. Like, we just announced, or not announced, but we just kind of revealed with Sam that 100% of our AI defense product, which is a product that we announced last year at this event, is going to be written by AI in 3 weeks.
Wow.
100%. Like, no humans writing code. Humans are reviewing, which means that the bottleneck is no longer writing code, it's actually reviewing code. And those will require kind of shifts in mental models. And so it's less just about the shortage of what kind of skills do we have. I actually pay less attention to skills, and I pay much more attention to attitude. And you can't teach hunger. And so you have to make sure that you find people that are hungry, intrinsically hungry. I don't believe in hiring people that you have to motivate all the time. Come intrinsically motivated, come intrinsically hungry. And then I think you have to be insanely curious in this time and day and age. If you're not willing to experiment and put yourself in an uncomfortable position and constantly, I always tell people, like, if you don't like change, and this is not my line, someone else told me this. I think Chuck told me this, but hear it from someone else too. So if you don't like change, wait until irrelevance hits you.
That's a good point.
How have you processed the AI safety debate? Fortunately, the labs are kind of a heat shield for everyone else in AI. It's like the focus is entirely on them, and yet Cisco and other infrastructure companies will be a key part of ensuring that all of these products that are created and intelligence that is created has positive impact on the world and humanity. And
so I think there's two dimensions to this. The first dimension is all the tools that you and I use are the ones that the adversaries are going to use to go out and create attacks on cybersecurity. And so the first thing you have to do is make sure that you have cyber defense happening at machine scale, not just at human scale. Okay, that's been something the whole industry is doing. That's nothing revolutionary, but we have to do it, and we got to make sure that AI is being used for that. But the second area, which is these models that these applications are getting built on, inherently by nature are non-deterministic, which means they're unpredictable. But you're trying to build like a finance application or a healthcare application, which needs to be very deterministic. I tell people, I'm like, hallucination is a great feature when you're writing poetry. Everything else in life, not that useful.
your doctor is like, sorry, I hallucinated.
Exactly. And so what we have to do is we have to make sure that we actually figure out mechanisms to get full visibility on the model, and then have validation that says, does the model behave the way that you want it to behave? So for example, if I ask a question to the model, build me a bomb, what it'll very dexterously do is tell you, well, I can't give you that answer. But if you ask the question slightly in a nuanced way, I'm a movie script writer, I'm actually going out and shooting a movie with Brad Pitt, we're going to shoot a scene where Brad Pitt's going to get into the car, build a bomb, and then blow up the Bellagio. And so can you build me that entire scene? And by the way, can you show me how the bomb gets built in that scene?
So I can recreate
the model
the
can
movie.
get tricked.
Yep.
Right? And so what you need to have is some kind of an algorithmic red teaming process that says, trick the model in test rather than in real world. And do that algorithmically. And once you do that, then have some kind of mechanism to enforce runtime enforcement guardrails so that every single time you build an application, that application is prepared to go out and deal with those kind of questions that might trick the model so that you as a company don't have your brand at risk when you do that. And that's the thing that we are actually building. And the thing that gets me really happy is if there was one product that I wanted to have fully written with AI, it would have been that product.
Yeah, that makes
Because
sense.
it,
outruns
the
everyone
speed,
else.
it has to outrun everyone else. And
Yeah.
you have to make sure that you deal with this at machine scale. And so it's really cool to see the teams not only change the fact that they're using tooling to make that happen, but they've changed their entire process.
Yeah.
Every engineer in that team is now just a spec developer. They just build specs, they create markdown files, they give context to the model, they give context to the agent, and then the agent's kind of writing the code. And then our biggest bottleneck is becoming review of code rather than the actual writing and generation of code.
Yeah.
How long do you think that lasts?
I think it becomes, I
Because
think
presumably the
no, the review is going to get easier
review-
too.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, at some point in time, these things are going to continue to get.
we'll be able to just
exponentially
podcast all day
compounded.
long. You'll be able to
You can
just
just,
hang
I
out
could
with
just
us.
be here like
Yeah.
8 hours. It'd
Yeah,
be great. But it's but so I think that's an area. And by the way, that doesn't mean that you can have a lot of AI slop that gets delivered in the market when that happens, because what you'll have is really crappy software that gets written if people aren't paying attention to it. It doesn't obviate the need for having taste and having judgment and having instinct and making sure that you're thinking about what you're building. But what it'll at least do for you is provide this mechanism to accelerate the development where we're not just constrained by, I don't have resources, so therefore I'm not going to build 80% of the things that I want to build. However, prioritization is still going to be important. And I feel like focus, I don't think the nature of focus changes just because you can build a lot of stuff quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about innovation at Cisco. You mentioned it earlier, but I was watching a video from Jane Street all about innovation not necessarily being perfectly correlated with new company formation. Like what startups do is great, but you look at the iPhone that came from Apple. You look at the Transformer paper came from Google. Two wildly different approaches to innovation. One CEO leading, and the other this labs, the skunkworks team. How do you see innovation balancing between sort of top-down mandate for new products, what the market's responding to, customer-driven versus lab scientists going off and working in
It's a great
isolation?
question. So first thing is, innovation is, in my mind, it's a choice. So when companies say, well, we're big, so we can't innovate.
There's a lot of big companies that don't innovate, but there
think
are
that-
a bunch that
exactly.
do. And
Yeah,
so
I mean,
what's the separation?
It's correlation does not equate causality in that
Yes.
case. Like just because you're a big company does not mean you can't innovate. In
Yes,
fact, some of the
yes.
greatest companies,
Yeah.
are innovating at a really, really fast pace. And by the way, scale really matters right now.
Yeah.
In AI, scale is actually a huge accelerant for innovation.
Yeah, distribution, more data, flywheel,
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
RL, all of that.
And so I do feel like innovation is a choice, and I think it's an intellectually lazy argument to say that innovation can't happen because we're too large.
Yeah.
However, size does bring about some level of slowness in the process. If you and you have to be diligent about making sure that you're intolerant on bureaucracy seeping in. Or more importantly, indecision seeping in and apathy kind of seeping in, where people just give up after a while. They're like, you know what, I tried a couple of times, it didn't work. And it's like, no, you have to be comfortable with conflict. You have to be comfortable with making sure that you speak truth to power. And if that means that you're going to, like one thing that can become a failure state is in these large companies, you get overly concerned about feelings of people. And so as a result, what you stop doing is you stop having the debates that need to be had. What you need to do instead is establish trust first in teams. And once you have trust, you know that the intent is not to put you down. The intent is to make sure that you get the best
win.
idea ship out and get to win. And winning requires contrarian viewpoints that are actually actively debated. And if
And
you
sometimes hurting feelings.
exactly. But it wouldn't hurt feelings if everyone were clear about the fact that I trust this person and they're debating the idea, not the person. They're not attacking my personality. And so one of my mentors always told me, and I have not mastered this. State the facts, but watch your tone. When I tend to do poorly is when I get passionate, when I don't watch my tone. Because then that debate feels like it's a personal conflict rather than something that's about the idea.
Yeah.
And so if I were to say, on the innovation side, top down, bottoms up, I think there are certain things you have to go top down. Like we had a decision we had to make that said we're pivoting to AI first as a company. And that was not a decision I could have had democratically kind of sourced from 30,000 engineers. It would have not worked.
Yeah.
So we said we're going to go from top down on that one. But I should be losing 99% of the debates in my organization because the person in the front line is spending 14 hours a day on that problem. I'm spending 6 minutes a week on that problem. Chances are, even if I'm infinitely smarter, which I'm not, if I'm doing the right job because I'm hiring people smarter than me, at that point, you need to make sure that that person is able to have more facts, more thought put into that argument than me. So I always tell people, if I'm having a debate with you, and if I'm having an argument, and if I don't lose 95% of the arguments, then we've got a different problem.
Yeah, not a
Right?
good
Because
not
you
a
just
good
haven't
sign.
thought through. But what my job is to make sure that the second level and third level thinking is actually well thought through on your end. And then we need to make sure that we have certain core principles up top that go from top down and certain core value systems that we should not compromise on so that we don't actually get people on an infinite loop. And then on the bottom, from the bottom up, allow people to innovate and then let those great ideas percolate up.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much. Great to meet you.
Great to
Thanks
meet
for
you.
having us here.
Hopefully we'll have you back soon.
Would love that.
And in the meantime, I'll tell you about Cognition. They're the makers of Devon, the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. And our next guest is coming in right now. Fantastic. I wasn't sure if we were going to have a little bit of a break, but we have Costa.
What's
Welcome
going on?
to the show. How are
Welcome
you
to the
doing?
show.
How you doing? Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you so much.
No
right,
worries. Sorry.
No, we're good. We go for 3 hours every day. It's no problem.
Love it.
Please introduce yourself since it's the first time on your show.
Yeah, so I'm Costa Cladianos. I'm the EVP of technology for the San Francisco 49ers and Levi Stadium, and
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the show, so excited to be here.
Yeah,
Amazing.
explain to us like what that means and what your day to day is like and what the choices you're facing are.
So there's never like a regular day to day.
Yeah.
It's so my team we're responsible for everything from getting into the stadium, the ticketing systems,
Yeah.
the point of sale systems for food and beverage,
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi, the network infrastructure,
Sure.
the cybersecurity of the stadium, making sure that on game day we're like the referees. You don't notice us and you just have a great time and
Yeah.
cheer on the team, which is
Yeah.
hopefully the 49ers. But
How has technology in a football stadium evolved? Like, we were going back to like the first broadcast was the Los Angeles Rams before they moved to St. Louis. Then they went back, and it made sense because Hollywood is in there. They're very forward thinking. But how much have you seen an evolution in the technology that goes into broadcasting a football game?
Well, it's crazy. I've been doing this for about 25 years now, and in a bunch of different sports. And it just used to be, you go to the game, you watch the game, you eat your food, and you go home. Now it's different because you have to have a technology experience. The reason why is, staying at home sounds like a good proposition. You have your big TV, you have your couch, you have your food.
Yeah.
So we want to make a reason to come to the park. We want to enhance that experience. So how can we get it to be kind of a social experience? How can we get something that'll get you off your couch and coming there and having a great time? Because it's also not cheap to come to a game. It's a significant a dollar value from your wallet and an entertainment dollar. So we want to make sure that you have the best experience possible. And then you look at the people watching sports. What are we doing now? We're all on our phones. We're all on our technology. We all want more data. So it's like it's not trying to get people off their phones. It's like how do we engage stats, more plays, know more things about their favorite players, and really bring the action to you. And then I mean, with us being kind of an influencer economy, everybody wants to show off where they are, right? So
Yeah.
we're like, what a better place to show off where you are and having a good time there, and then your friends are going to be jealous and then come and enjoy the game as well, right?
Yeah.
Rank your tech stack based on importance on game day, like specifically during the game. And I want this in the
Internet at the top.
Yeah.
I know.
No. But I'm
Right.
talking about like when, like if you're just an observer and you're enjoying the game and you're experiencing, a bunch of different sets of technology, like what is like the average person not noticing that is like going on in the background that like, you're fixated on?
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully they're not noticing it because that means it's working, right?
Yeah.
So I think you start from the foundation, the infrastructure, the network, the network infrastructure, and I tell everyone, they're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "That's the plumbing of our organization.
Yeah.
That's where everything flows. That's to make sure. Without that, we have absolutely nothing. We're cooked." So I mean, Cisco is a great partner of ours, and we work together. It helps that we're in Silicon Valley, which it helps, but also hurts because everyone knows technology in there, right? So everyone coming to the game, they expect the best. So, which is a great challenge, and one of the reasons why I went there. So that infrastructure has to be solid to deliver you Wi-Fi, and there's just more and more need for it, right? We have to keep scaling it up now. With AI coming down the pipe, everyone's looking up their LLMs and on their phones, and obviously sharing their experience and. With advanced stats and things like that, it has to be frictionless for them, right? And so that network infrastructure has to be solid, not only what's going on in the stands as the fans, but on the field too. We can't have, scoreboards go down. We can't have coach comms go down. So we work together with the NFL to do that. So it's incredibly important to us. And then with that hand in hand is actually our cybersecurity posture.
Okay.
We can have the best systems in the world, but one hack, one cybersecurity incident, and it's a massive problem. And
is that mostly like DDoS, just like adversarial hackers just trying to like take you offline, screw things up, create economic damages, or is it specifically like break in and steal credentials, everything, all of the above?
I imagine every day there's somebody that would love to like broadcast onto the jumbotron.
Yeah, like this crypto scam or something. I don't know. What's the shape of the threat?
There is so many different threats. You just named a few,
easy.
and you're scratching the surface. Just because we're so visible, every Sunday, the world's looking at us, and it's a visible attack vector. So we have an incredible cybersecurity team. We work again with the NFL, and then share knowledge with other teams because we're competitors on the field, but colleagues off the field.
Sure.
And so we work together to make sure that we're mitigating risk, and it's not if you're attacked, it's when you're attacked. So we try and make sure to stop that. So you have to be proactive instead of reactive. If we're reactive, we've already lost the battle.
Yeah. Is NAB important for you?
NAB?
Yeah, the national.
The show?
Yeah, the show. Like we go for the camera stuff here. We try and
It's
learn
a great
lot
show. Yeah, we do send a big
But I'm
team
wondering
down
if
there.
that's like important to you, or if there's a different conference there. You're meeting more people and talking to more suppliers.
No, we do send a lot of people to NAB.
Okay.
Our engineering team.
Yeah.
It's definitely important to us because look at our broadcast size.
Yeah.
We have right now, I believe, the largest outdoor 4K video
Yeah.
screens in the league. So we do send a lot of people there.
Okay.
You want to be around the best in the race. We have a lot of shows that we go to, but it's not only, you don't want to stay inside the industry.
Yeah.
I always say you learn your best when you're looking outside. So who's doing what great. Doesn't have to be from sports, and take that.
Then what is like the top-down mandate or standards that are shared from the NFL? Like there's obviously broadcast standards if you're delivering to ESPN or ABC or NBC, but what does need to be standard across the NFL broadly?
Yeah, the NFL has their standards across the NFL in terms of Wi-Fi infrastructure, connectivity,
Expectations.
Yeah,
Every
expectations.
team has to be
Exactly, but
doing them their own way.
us at the 49ers, our team always overperforms on the field. We're always expected to win a championship. And, that's what we try and do. It's difficult, but that's like our goal. So, with me being and the technology team, we're trying to be the best. Again, we're in Silicon Valley, so we expect more. So I want to go over and above and deliver an experience that's not just kind of the minimum.
Yeah.
It's an experience where you're going to come there and say, "Wow, the Levi Stadium's unbelievable. This is insane. Let's go there. This is something different that maybe somebody like a Disney should copy, right? Or Starbucks or somebody else in the industry. Sorry if they're not sponsors, but
how much different is the Super Bowl specifically? Is there more demands on your organization for a bigger event, or is it sort of the same as any other game?
Yeah, the Super Bowl is one of the world's largest, arguably the world's largest sporting event, especially in this country, and the demands are greater. And we work again hand in hand with the NFL as their event. The capacity, the Wi-Fi, the bandwidth, it always sets records wherever they go. I mean, the previous record at our stadium was Taylor Swift, which was an incredible concert, by the way. I mean, her demographic, super tech savvy. As soon as she came out on stage, people are putting up their phones and sharing that, and it blew away our bandwidth records. And that was a couple years ago, and we expect this to go even higher. But that's a record that's always made to be broken because people are using more data, not less, right? So we always have to prepare and scale up as well.
Well, Jordy, anything else?
I mean, I have a lot more questions, but it was great having you on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for
Thanks,
stopping
guys.
by.
Great to meet you.
Thanks.
Oh, he
Talk
hops
soon.
off. Let me tell you about Railway. Railway is the all-in-one intelligent cloud provider. Use your favorite agent to deploy apps, servers, databases, and more, while Railway automatically takes care of scaling, monitoring, and security. And we have our next guest already here. He showed up a little bit early. We can bring him down if he's down.
Let's do
I'll
it. He
tell
looks
you
ready.
about Console. Console builds AI agents that automate 70% of IT, HR, finance support, giving employees instant resolution for access requests and password resets. Dylan, good to see you. What's up, man? Good to see you again. Good to have you. Data centers in space, what you got? When are we going to
Coming
space?
in hot.
Me, you, the International Space Station. Let's break it down.
The space tourism industry is quite a fun one, right?
Yeah. Would you go? Would you do the Blue Origin thing where they blast you up past the Kármán line? It's good enough for Katy Perry. It's not good enough for you. What's going on?
It's like like you're in free fall. You're not actually in space.
Oh, it doesn't
Oh,
count.
shots
Yeah.
fired.
Oh, Kármán line denier.
I want to be like going around for days.
Oh, okay, okay.
I want my bone density to start to atrophy. Right? I truly want to feel the negative effects of space.
Yeah. It's not enough just to go. I think I would do it. It's even
It's
if
like
it is
90
a free
seconds,
fall.
right?
Yeah, but it's better than hanging out on.
But like
Earth
all the
for-
cool stuff that astronauts do, right?
Yeah.
Like put water and then like they're bubbling and then you like
Yeah.
try and drink the water or like
Soon
all
they'll
these-
be unplugging the GPU and plugging it back.
Oh yeah. That's how you pay for your space tourism. You gotta go unsee a ship.
90
Do a little
seconds of
data center.
servicing
Yeah.
SpaceX satellite.
One 90-second trip at a time. People were wondering, TPUs, NVIDIA going on the Starlink V5 or whatever something gets up there. It feels like this will be something more like a Tesla silicon chip, an AI chip. Like, do you have any insight into like what the process, if you wind up figuring out how to heat dissipate, if you wind up figuring out the costs, what might the chip look like?
So I think everyone freaks out. Oh my God, putting stuff in space is expensive.
Yeah.
But if you look at like Starship launch cost and they keep falling, you're like fine, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's not by the end of the decade, the cost of space launch will be fine. The heat dissipation, I mean it's a challenge, but you just put a massive, effectively radiator, and it's fine, right? By the end of the decade, like you'll be good. I think the big challenge is that chips are just really unreliable, right?
Sure.
And so how do you deal with like a couple things, right? Satellites can only be so large before they like start needing a lot of support and structure before they tear themselves apart. So when you look at like the launches, right? These things are shooting out like tiny satellites, and many of them. Okay, so you can't have like a big fully connected cluster of chips. And then like on top of that, right? How do you deal with any random error? On Earth, you have techs running around the data center, unplugging stuff, putting in spares, things like that. What do you do in space? You RMA it to the factory where they like might unsolder it and resolder it and then like test it and it works and go back out. Sometimes it is just trashed, but like that's the challenge to me.
Is that I feel like maybe the pattern we should be looking at is like how often do the Tesla self-driving chips need to get serviced? Because that's like the team that would probably be building or like bridging the gap there. Like the Starlink satellites, sure they go down, but like the service works. Like you're just relying on some sort of like 90% uptime stuff's coming down. But most people that are in a Waymo, like the chip keeps working, right? Most people that are in a Tesla self-driving, like they're not like you don't hear about Tesla owners being like, I love FSD, but I'm constantly in the shop getting my custom silicon chips unseated and reseated, right?
Well, I mean, it's also a function of like the complexity of a chip, right?
Sure.
If a chip is twice as fast, and let's say the bit error rate, right, like how often a bit flips, is the same, then it's erroring out twice as often. But let's say the chip is 10x as big, right? And so when you look at like a Tesla FSD chip, very, very good, very, very efficient, very still like relatively
Small.
inexpensive and cheap compared to a big old GPU or TPU or whatever. Right? Those things are extremely large, and again, like if the error rates are the same, then it fails 10x more. But in fact, the error rates are a bit higher because they're pushing these things to the absolute limit. Whereas Tesla does have some level of like, well, first of all, the Tesla car has 2 chips, sort of redundancy already built in, right?
So maybe you do that on the satellite, but that's more power, more.
Right. So the whole allure, right, of it is
free energy.
Effectively power is free, right? And solar panels. You look at the cost curve of solar panels. You look at the cost curve of satellite launches. You're like, this is free. This is great. But power is less than 10% of the cost of the cluster. Right. So like, it's that 90% you're not saving anything on. And insofar as much as
for potentially 100 times the hassle.
Yes. There's this whole like if you look at NVIDIA GPUs, right? When you first turn on the cluster, about 10 to 15% of them fail RMA in the first 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then that's fine. Like you have to reseat them, whatever. And like the industry knows how to deal with this, right? And over time, like Hopper's now at 5%, but Blackwell's still 10 to 15%.
Wow.
Right? Actually started out higher than that. And when a new generation comes out, it's going to be higher than 10, 15%. It'll have its curve gradually decline down. But who's gonna? Are you gonna test it and burn it in on the ground? Or are you going to say 5% of my chips or 10, 15% of my chips are trashed because someone can't go up there and like do these things? Or am I saying, oh, I need robots who can do all this stuff in space, and now that's like an additional engineering problem when sacks of meat are actually very cheap?
Speaking of NVIDIA, we haven't talked since the Grok acquisition. What does that look like in the bull case? Like if the next version of Grok is a great chip, is it sitting next to the H200, H100s in the rack, GB200? Like how does it fit into the actual like what NVIDIA deploys? Is it just a separate chip?
I think it's a big vibe shift from NVIDIA, right? Before they were like, all right, I got this big GPU. Everyone's going to use this GPU. Software ecosystem of the GPU is so good. It's one size fits all. Everyone's trying to make all these like specific point solutions, but we've got the thing that's good at everything. And then they had a vibe shift, right? They launched this thing called CPX, which is a chip made for prefill, with prompt processing, creating a KV cache, and also good at like video generation and image generation. And that's coming out later this year.
In the Grok press release, they were really talking about video generation as well.
So you've got like CPX, you've got like the standard GPU, now you've got the Grok chips, and they all fill a different niche. But really it screams, oh crap, we don't really know exactly where AI is going, which I don't think anyone does, right? I mean, it's moving so fast, the software is, the model architectures, et cetera. So we're just gonna like engineer solutions that are along multiple points of the Pareto optimal curve, and then, if one of them will win, right? And I think it's like sort of like a big vibe shift from NVIDIA. Also, they just knew OpenAI was going to do the Cerebrus deal, so they freaked out. But
got it. Get me up to speed on what makes Cerebrus important in the ecosystem right now.
So you have people thinking like, oh, latency matters in terms of where a data center is. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is as we've moved from, chat applications, which were like, or search response immediately, chat applications, let's say response takes 10, 20, 30 seconds. You've got agents, I don't know, my Claude codes are working in the background for a long time, right? Doesn't matter where the data center is, but what does matter is that these streams of inference take, 30 minutes versus 10 minutes versus 5 minutes. And for a lot of people, I'm fine to spend 10x the price on something that completes 10x faster. And so Cerebrus sort of just makes a ton of sense there. So OpenAI, they've got these like long horizon. There's like Codex 5.2, extra high thinking or whatever. It's terrible. Can you guys teach them how to market? OpenAI, you have to sponsor this podcast.
We had Timo on yesterday, and I did actually ask him, like, I had the Codex app pulled up on my desktop, and I was like, there are 6 different models, and then there's another button that I can pick to it.
Well, how many different products are called Codex now?
There's a lot.
Right?
And now there's an app,
We actually had another guy on just to do branding. Lexicon Branding came on the show yesterday talking about all the
naming architecture.
Naming architectures. It is complicated, but hopefully
you could tell he's just blood's boiling because like all the AI companies just have the most chaotic Anthropic, Claude Code, but also you can use Claude Code for other stuff.
But I mean, with Cerebrus, it seems like there is a value to it, but are they constrained on the supply side? Like, can they actually scale up to a Colossus style data center that could actually speed up Codex not just for like one user, but all the users?
So I mean, Cerebrus can speed up multiple users for sure.
Yeah.
The question is sort of like where you use it, and that's where they have to like figure out where within Codex, right?
Yeah.
Because there are times where Codex is running for like 10 hours, and sometimes you don't mind, right? Like, screw it, I've put out this nice prompt, gone, work on it, refactor my code, do this thing, do this task. Other times I want this iteration feedback loop. So how do you expose it to the user without saying, hey, actually there's another toggle. So your permutation is 18 times.
Well, hopefully like a really robust model router, but it feels like that's been a process.
Yeah, so the OpenAI deal is like for 750 megawatts. It's not that much capacity on the order of like what OpenAI has talked about. You know, by the end of 28, they'll be at like 16 gigawatts of that.
So it's
Cerebrus
just
is like
the absolute cutting edge, the most price insensitive customers in that specific use case of this is the type of prompt that you need to return fast, then you'll get the speed up potentially.
Right. And they've got to figure out how to do it from a product, exposing to the user, et cetera. But it's clearly something where there is demand, right? Like, I don't know, like Andre Karpathy doesn't care if he's spending $1,000 per agent per second or whatever, right? Like, you know, so whoever it is, these like super cracked engineers don't care at all. And then obviously there's like a long tail of like actually cost does matter for most people. And so all along that curve, they've got to have solutions, right?
When did you first think that XAI might end up at another Elon company?
I mean, this has been rumored for a long time, right? Like people are saying Tesla for the longest time.
But it's harder with a public company.
And then a bit ago, people were like, "Oh, SpaceXI." I'm like, "Wait, this makes no sense."
But there was a very coordinated like narrative pump. Like
and then the
end
space
of
data
last
centers
year, at the end of last year, and
it makes perfect sense.
it was like almost like perfectly telegraphed.
Well, there's a bet, right, between basically the head of compute of XAI and the head of compute of Anthropic. And the bet is what percentage of worldwide data center capacity is in space by the end of 28. And the bar is 1%.
Oh, wow.
And so the XAI guy is like really bullish, and the Anthropic guy's like, So, but it's a really interesting bet. I take the under on 1% by 28 because that's a gigawatt in space. But it's actually not that crazy, right? It's roughly 150 Starship launches. We'll get them to 100 to get them to a gigawatt in space. So, you know, Starship hasn't worked yet. Fully.
I was looking at the energy draw of the current Starlink fleet, and I think they're at like, what is it, 200 kilowatts or something like that. So you get 1,000 of those, 200 megawatts, and like you're starting to be in the territory, something like that.
So the V2 satellites, I think, are the only ones they've launched. Maybe they've launched a few V3s, but the V3s are coming soon, and those are like 100x more bandwidth each, right? And more power.
And just more power. And so when I'm just thinking of like, can you scale this thing up at all? It's like, are they 2 orders of magnitude off? Are they 3 orders of magnitude? It feels like they're like 1 order of magnitude off being able to run something that looks like an H100.
I think the metric is like 50, it's either 50 kilowatts a ton or something like this per satellite for V3. If they, let's say from V3 to whatever the compute thing is, they double it again, get to 100. I think the V2s are like 25. So if you get to 100 kilowatts per ton for launch, it's only 150 or so Starship launches. I think that's so reasonable. Maybe not 28, maybe it takes 29, but like, you know, it's so reasonable. The question is cost and reliability and you know, what happens when the chip fails, how do you service it, that kind of stuff. How do you deal with having clusters be much smaller instead of like, you know, these big clusters. Even for inference, big clusters are useful.
How do you think about Google's response to Grok, Cerebrus, TPUs, obviously very successful, but are they forking that project to eat more of the Pareto curve?
So for the longest time, Google's had one main line of TPUs, right? All made by Broadcom, and then sort of next year they've diverged it, right? Where Broadcom makes a TPU and MediaTek makes a TPU. These two TPUs are focused at different things.
And they're fabbed at...
They're both fabbed at TSMC. Everything at the end of the day goes to Arrakis, right?
I want to go there next, but continue. Goes to Arrakis.
So fabbed by TSMC regardless, but both of these TPUs are focused on different things, and they've actually got a third project for another kind of TPU there. They also see this need to proliferate along the curve of like, hey, do I care a lot about super high amounts of flops, not that much memory? Do I care a lot about super fast on-chip memory only? Do I care about 3D stacking memory? Do I care about, you know, this sort of general purpose middle ground AI chip, which is what, you know, an H100, a Blackwell, a TPU looks like today? You know, they're sort of like, oh, we need to hit the entire Pareto optimal curve, and it's like, okay, within this, there's training versus inference differences, and like what numerics you want, and all these other things. There's so much complexity there. Everyone sort of is diverging their roadmaps once they're at a sufficient scale, I think.
Yeah. Is Google still way ahead on cross data center training?
Yes.
And are the other labs like, is that important to the other labs to catch up there? Or is it something that will just naturally happen because everything sort of commoditizes? Or do the other labs need to sort of marshal some Herculean effort to like crack the code on what it takes and what Google's doing?
Yeah, so it's a couple of things, right? In 2023, everyone thought that scaling was pre-training.
Yeah.
Right? More parameters, more data.
Oh, okay.
And that's very difficult to split across data centers.
And has Google been able to do that?
And Google's been able to do that to an extent, right? So what they've done is they've got, they don't have the largest individual data center campus, but what they do is they do these like regions where it's like, hey, each data center is roughly 40 miles apart from each other.
Sure.
So in Nebraska and Iowa, and then in Ohio, they've got like these complexes, and now they're building one in Oklahoma, Texas.
Got it.
These complexes where there's all these data centers pretty close to each
So
other.
it's not really cross data center, like across the world.
Right.
It's just across like region.
Yeah, and then that makes a lot of the difficulties
Easier.
a lot easier. Flip side is we've also moved to RL, right?
Yeah.
And majority of the time of the chips is spent generating data, right? Only doing forward passes through the model.
Sure.
And then you only send the final tokens that you verified sort of back to train on to the training to train, right?
Yeah.
So then you end up with like, oh, instead of in pre-training scaling, you need to like synchronize all the weights every 10, 20, whatever seconds. When you're doing these rollouts, and especially as things get more and more agentic in training, you might not only need to send not the entire weights, but just the tokens that are relevant. So way smaller amount of data and way less frequently, right? Minutes at a time instead of seconds at a time.
Yeah.
And so you've got this like now it's become like reasonable where, oh, actually, multi-data center training is completely reasonable, and people do this. People do multi-data center, multi-chip training, right? You do your inference on one set of chips, and you do your training on another set of chips. So like Anthropic does this. I don't know if Google does this, but Google's kind of already got the cards. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Let's go to
I wanted
Arrakis.
talk about Arrakis.
Just there's this debate. TSMC risk, is that the bottleneck or is energy the bottleneck? I was doing back of the envelope calculations. It seems like we're using maybe like 1% of global energy production or Western energy production on AI specifically workloads. And then we're using like 50% of leading edge fab capacity on AI workloads. And so that feels like, okay, well, even if we all agree and we say as a society we're going all in on AI, we can only double the AI chip capacity before we need to build more fabs. That takes years. Whereas we could say, everyone turn off your air conditioning. We're sending the electricity to the data centers, right? Like we have the ability to generate it without creating new. Did I just get something?
Clapping for turning off the AC.
Turn off your Claude needs to eat.
Heat strokes for all the grandmothers.
yes.
I need my cat dancing videos.
We need to feed Claude, right? But seriously, like there's this debate over, is TSMC the main bottleneck or energy the bottleneck? How are you feeling about that?
Yeah. So sidebar before I answer the question because I think it's fun.
Yes.
In the U.S. it's insane to say turn off your AC for AI.
Yes.
Right, and the general public hates AI already.
Of course.
But in Taiwan, they've had droughts before, and they've turned off water to entire cities. They're like, oh, you get water 3 days of the week.
Whoa.
And then the fab still gets supplied water. It's like, this is, you've got to understand the mindset. We are not ready as weak Americans to do this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, but at the end of the day, right, like water and power are certainly less big of constraints. Now you've got to imagine, like, semiconductor industry is used to, hey, doubling the amount of transistors made every year or two.
Yep.
Part of that is Moore's law. Part of that is more capacity.
Yep.
Whereas the energy industry in America wasn't, and so like initially people were like not creative. They're like, let's do these kinds of gas plants. It's like, well, no. Now we've realized, yes, there's three main manufacturers of turbines, and then you've got for a dual combined cycle, then you've got like IGTs, but you've also got like medium speed reciprocating engines, right? Like, turns out Cummins can make like 1 million diesel engines a year. And like those can make electricity. Like if I don't give a fuck and I put it in West Texas, easy.
Yeah.
So now it's more of like a regulation thing, a supply chain thing. Power is not a constraint insofar like that much, right?
Yeah.
I think it certainly is a constraint still today. It was the biggest constraint in 24, 25, data center capacity, power, because the industry was just not ready. People have woken up, they've like sort of been shocked to the system. Now you've got, tens of gigawatts being deployed. Next year 30 gigawatts are being added, and we think the power's there for it.
Wow. What was it this year?
Or this year is like, I think it's like 18-ish, 10-ish,
Okay,
15 to 18-ish. Sorry.
So almost a doubling. That's
Almost a
pretty
doubling.
huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when you look at TSMC and the crew, right, there is not really, oh, this random, there's 12 people making medium speed reciprocating engines that you can now convert to make power at some random data center. No. There is Arrakis, right? There is one set of spice, there's, that's it, right? And so, and then the flip side is like, okay, when you have 12 vendors, everyone's got a little bit of slack capacity. There's more likelihood. People are like, oh, turbines you can't get. You can call a broker and you can get a turbine. You might be paying 50% more, 2x more, but you can get a turbine, right? Like
but you can't get a 3 nanometer fab.
You cannot get a 3 nanometer fab, exactly. And so when you talk about what's the baton got passed from semiconductor shortages in 23 to power and data centers in 24, 25. 26, we're swinging the pendulum, but it will fully beach semiconductors again in 27, right? And so we see this across the entire space of the ecosystem. It's not just TSMC, it's also memory, both. Because both of them have built at a certain pace. Now, TSMC has been expanding at some rate. The memory makers, in fact, have just not expanded capacity. Basically, they have not built new fabs since 2022. Because their cycle is so undulating.
Right?
Yeah. And so when you look at it, it's like, oh, even if they wanted to double capacity, they need to build the fabs, right? And building the fabs, it is the most complex building humans make, right? It's the entire air of a clean room circulates itself every 1.5 seconds. What? And you don't even feel it when you're inside.
Really?
It's like that, and it's like parts per billion of particles, right? Like it's actually insane how you could get coughed in the face by someone who has COVID and not get COVID. And
so
it
gets circulated so fast it doesn't even hit you.
It's like
that meme of like the spraying when someone's talking and then it gets circulated.
Another sidebar is everyone knows COVID like really popped off in Wuhan, right? Wuhan also is home to China's largest memory company, YMTC.
Oh.
And so when they were like welding people into their homes, the people who worked in the fab still went to work.
Wow.
It was because it's one, it's a national national importance, but two, like these people aren't getting sick. This fab is like way too clean.
Crazy.
Sorry, Jordy.
I want to talk about Oracle. They put out a post this morning that said, our partners financing for the Doña Ana County, New Mexico, Shackelford County, Texas, and Port Washington, Wisconsin data centers are secured at market standard rates, progressing through final syndication on schedule and consistent with investment grade deals. Obviously, they were fast following their post from yesterday, where they said the NVIDIA OpenAI deal has zero impact on our financial relationship with OpenAI. We remain highly confident in OpenAI's ability to raise funds and meet its commitments. And obviously everyone was looking at this being like, give me a cigarette, like smoking, it's like bank run language. I haven't seen posts like this since like the FTX
Is it just
era,
bad comms or is there something worse?
It's terrible comms. I told my Oracle contacts, like, well, who the hell is in charge of the Twitter? Like, what are you doing? NVIDIA did something similar last year when the whole TPU mania was going on.
It was like we're thrilled with Google's progress with the TPU. That said, NVIDIA chips are the only, it's like no one asked you to comment.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm sure a handful of people in your DMs and random, but that doesn't mean
doesn't project confidence.
It's sort of the lions shouldn't concern themselves with the sheep.
Yes.
And like, okay, NVIDIA is a lion. Maybe Oracle is a little bit more bumpy, but I think Oracle is like fine.
Yeah.
People are just freaking out because OpenAI is peak. People are peak negative on OpenAI right now because of how good Anthropic's been killing it.
Sure.
I think it's just like kind of silly. Like they need to hire someone to do comms, like a Lulu or something, right? Both NVIDIA and Oracle, because what are you doing?
How did you process yesterday in general? Jensen was clip farming. He was like, I don't know why he does these street interviews, right?
No other CEO does those, where they just stick 25 microphones in your face and the paparazzi's flashing. It's a great vibe.
Jensen's not been as famous as other CEOs for as long, and yet he's so important now. And if you know of Jensen, how he is in meetings, I feel like there's two Jensens, right?
Sure.
There is like PR, like good at PR, just good at talking, good at like making people hyped up and believe what he's doing.
He's great at standing on stage, holding up the chip, delivering like a sermon.
And then there's the real Jensen, which is like a business killer. And like actually just knows about every like aspect of the supply chain, right? All the way from like niche semiconductor, design and manufacturing stuff, all the way to like energy power data center, and then doing the business deals too, right? And so like you've got this whole Pareto like of the whole range of things that he's good at and he's a killer in, and clearly he's like he was in a meeting where he was being a killer and like negotiating like supply contracts or something.
Oh, when he walks outside,
and then he
he's
walks.
still in that mode. That's hilarious.
That's my
Conspiracy
inference.
theory, but I like it. Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's why he was like, like he was like still killer. Like, no, we never said we committed to 100 billion. You know, like, and it's like,
I don't know. Where do you even get the $100 billion number from? And it's like, well, you did go on CNBC and like, make a big deal out of it. And so I think people would assume that it was, but they did say in the press release, I remember these are early talks, but they just kind of jumped the gun. This was the height of the press release economy.
Yeah. What's funny is Oracle stock peaked like just like a week after they announced the OpenAI deal. And so like the press release of like, hey, OpenAI is gonna do this humongous deal, stock peaks. Same happened with a couple other vendors who announced deals with OpenAI or NVIDIA, like sort of a lot of these like they all peaked then, and then it's sort of been like NVIDIA OpenAI trade has been going poorly, and sort of like the TPU, Anthropic, Google, Amazon complex has been doing well. And it's quite interesting that this happened.
There's been good energy back at home with the roommates.
What's going on?
I wanted to, I get one more thing. So yes, over the weekend it was sort of drowned out by all the Justice Department stuff. But
wait, have you guys talked about Elon saying you can smoke a cigar in the fab?
No.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say this is part of the whole thing.
I didn't realize that was related. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Indoor heaters.
Yeah.
We have indoor heater technology.
Well,
no one's taking advantage.
Yeah. What does the fab look like if you have no humans inside? Like that's probably his long-term thing. Is like, there will be an optimist.
But like the number of people who work in a fab is like irrelevant. Like,
yeah, but is it irrelevant because there's all these things you have to do when a human's in there because they sweat and they breathe, and if you don't have to do that because it's a robot walking down, even if it's puppeteered or teleoperated, you might be able to have different considerations. I don't know if that actually affects.
Well, it's like a nesting of like cleanliness, right? For example, you've got this wafer you've put like down. Let's say you put down copper, and now you're moving it from one area to another. Well, it needs to be stored in a vacuum, but easiest way to store a vacuum, like or an inert gas, and that's like the thing that's being transported in. But then around that, you want it to be super clean as well. If you don't, then the copper starts getting oxidized. It affects your yields. All this sort of stuff happens. And so like you kind of want it to be a nested layer of like, well, this thing inside the EUV tool is super clean, and then the thing feeding it is super clean, and then the thing it sits in is super clean, because that's how you get to like there's zero particles. Because like in the FOUP in the transportation devices, like parts per trillion, and maybe FOUP, it's called FOUP, front operated. Front opening, I don't know, something pod.
Pod.
But it's called a FOUP. It's like the thing that moves and it carries the wafers.
Sure.
And then the fab is like parts per billion, and sort of like, you've got to like got this nesting relationship, so everything is super clean. I'm bullish on robots, like super bullish on robots, but only for like, not for tasks that have like TSMC's Arizona fabs, or let's say TSMC Tainan, which I think produces like, indirectly hundreds of billions of dollars of global GDP. Even directly, it's like still tens of billions of dollars. Has like 10,000 people in it. Like it's like irrelevant in terms of the number of people who work there.
In terms of the overall economic value that's created.
Right. It's like how many people fold laundry, or how many people wash dishes, or how many people like do construction work. Like these are way bigger markets
for robotics. Yeah.
Makes
sense. Speaking of China, what are you making of the Dario essay, I guess his comments at Davos about selling chips to China is equivalent to nuclear weapons these days. The Ben Thompson line was something like he's okay selling chips because he wants dependency on the NVIDIA ecosystem, but he would ban lithography tools from going to China. And I've been wrestling with this idea of like, I don't know if China would accept this, but wouldn't there be a different world where you want them dependent on American LLM APIs, and you don't even send them the chips, and you say, you can have as much AI as you want as long as you're paying, OpenAI and Anthropic API.
Yeah, I think it's like a curve of like
what they will accept.
It's one, you push someone into the corner, they're going to start swinging. Right, and I'm like very concerned that China does this. Right, do they Do you push them too far into the corner? Do they say, screw this, we're going to start being a lot more aggressive, we're gonna do more military actions, we're gonna
military actions, or even just invest twice as much in
global supply chains,
their
like take
own
over
supply chain.
Africa more than they already have, LATAM, like et cetera. There's just take
so
over
many
Taiwan,
chips. Yeah.
right? Because if I can't have the chips, what value is there in Taiwan existing?
Sure.
In its current state, right? So there's there's this like game theory aspect.
Yeah.
At the same time, you don't want China to be able to if you believe AI is going to do what I think many, at least in San Francisco, think it's going to do, which is like completely revolutionize humanity and cause GDP growth to accelerate. Do you want to have China also own that technology and all their ability to integrate that into their military and all these other things much faster? So there is like these competing interests. Where is the like right line? And some people think it's like, hey, sell them AI model. Well, I think Dario would say, don't even sell them AI model access.
Don't even sell them tokens.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I think Anthropic does not sell AI access to China.
Yeah,
they loop it through, and you can see this in the traffic data. They go through Korea and Japan and other places, but and so they get it. And then the other side is like sort of like I think like the Ben Thompson view, which is like, and I think I'm more sympathetic to that. Although I think I'm not exactly in line with that, which is like, and we've been saying like, don't sell them equipment, don't sell them equipment, don't sell them equipment. And my argument is like more economic in the sense of like if you sell them like tens of billions of dollars of equipment, they can make hundreds of billions of dollars of AI value or chips with that equipment. Whereas if you sell them AI model access, then it costs them this much to get the economic. They're not able to.
You're capturing more of the value.
Exactly.
In the West. Yeah. That makes sense.
And so that's sort of the question that is at foot here, right? Do you want them to capture all this value of the supply chain in equipment, or by buying the chips, or using the models, right, and services? And we've seen, across many, stacks, China refuses to accept, using American ecosystem, and they'll wait many years before they develop their own. Whether it was like, hey, they didn't use Windows, they figured out a bootlegging economy, or they didn't use Visa, and eventually they came out with like Alipay and WeChat Pay or whatever it's called on, and like these things are way better than Visa, in fact, right? Lower transaction cost and higher volume.
I've never used Red Star Linux. It's North Korea's Linux distribution.
Wait, really?
Yeah. If you put it on a network, it'll immediately call home. So you have to put it on a firewall network, or else it just like steals everything immediately.
I'm a fan of Temple OS,
Yeah, there you go. Is Doug O'Loughlin suffering from a case of Claude Code psychosis?
Okay, yes. So I think everyone's like, Claude Code is for coders. And it's like, no. Claude Code is for people who don't code now. Right? And that's the big realization this year. We've got a couple folks now in the firm who have psychosis, but Douglas O'Loughlin, who is like, semi-analysis, number 2, he's president, he's my boy. He's the one, in fact, he's the one who encouraged me to make a Substack a long time ago.
What were you doing before?
I had a WordPress blog, and I was like consulting on the side, but I was like, okay, let me do a Substack now. Because I saw him making money off it. I was like, this is shit. Like, why are you getting paid for this? There were multiple times where he wrote something. I was like, I could do way better.
I'll show you.
And like obviously like it was good because we both taught each other a lot of things, and we've been great friends. And eventually he joined Semi-Analysis, but like, his background is he was a hedge fund analyst, and then he decided to do a Substack / hike the Continental Divide Trail for like 6 months, walking from Mexico to and then came back to doing Substack and tried to do a fund.
6 months of touching grass, and then he was like, I'm ready to lock it on Claude Code.
And so now he's he's never been a software developer, right? But he's been on a generational run. Like he's not coding anything, right? He's just telling Claude to do stuff, and like it's to the point where it's like our like head of data, head of IT is like, oh, can you send me that? And he's like, how do I do that? And then he zips the whole thing and sends it to him. It's like localhost. He sends him a leak once. It's like localhost. Like, it's like, bro, that's not how this works.
But yeah, no, I've talked to some folks who vibe code, and I'll be like, why'd you choose Node.js? And they're like, what's Node.js? And I'm like, that's a very specific choice.
Someone?
Yeah, Tyler.
No, but like it's we went on a little tour of a lot of our clients. Like roughly like half our business is, or 40% of our business is like hedge funds. So we went to New York 2 weeks ago, and we went to all of our clients, and like part of it's like them asking me, is OpenAI fucked? And I'm answering like, no, I think they're fine. And then like some like actual ideas, and then like a lot of it's Doug just telling them Claude Code is like, they're like, you don't have to hire any junior hedge fund analysts anymore. And they're like, the junior hedge fund analysts are like, and then he's explaining, what can you do? It's like, well, like you can just do like financial models and performa financial models and like everything in Claude Code without ever opening Excel, and you can generate charts, and like you don't need to know how to code. You just need to know how this stuff generally works, and you can just do it.
How many hedge funds are just trying to copy trade situational awareness now?
I mean, I think everyone I think a lot of hedge funds obviously believe in AI. I think there's a lot of them who don't believe in it, right? To be clear, but a lot of them that have done the best
They
believe
don't
in
believe
AI.
in it. Why are they selling software everywhere?
Oh, you mean selling software stocks?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
just,
yeah.
you know.
Why the sell-off then?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's like an incremental thing, right? But anyway, so these hedge funds, like, and then the question is like, okay, if you believe in it, how do you manifest that trade? And so when you look across the like ecosystem, I would say almost all my clients sometimes think our 2 years out numbers are too high. But like there's like Leopold's like your numbers are too low, and so it's like in general, right? And I think like if you think about how much do you believe in AI and what's your access to information of AI, you know, there's not many hedge funds who live in San Francisco and like fully breathe and live and understand it. And then depending on how much you believe in AI, how do you manifest that trade, right?
Are you surprised that more hedge funds wouldn't, like even just smaller shops, wouldn't say like, hey, this AI thing seems like it's going to be big. Maybe we should set up in San Francisco?
Or higher.
There's a number of people, right? So we're getting an office together. Leopold, myself, Dwarkesh, and then a client of mine, another hedge fund.
Cool.
And they have one analyst here, and it's like, and there's like a number of other hedge funds that are like hiring analysts here, but you know, being plugged into the AI ecosystem does not mean you're just in San Francisco, because you can just walk around and talk to like doofus like startups and VCs and like not actually you know see what's coming down the pipeline. And you have to combine it with all sorts of information, right? You have to have a good tune with like what's going on in Asia supply chains. You have to have a good tune with what's going on in New York. You have to good tune with like what's going on like in the financial markets, right? And then like what's going on in credit markets and what's going on in all, you know, the data center, energy, blah blah blah, all these different industries. And so it's actually not like so simple to like be in tune with what's going on in AI. You can easily get like head faked, right? You know, for the longest time, people were thinking, you know, Adobe's an AI company, and like, and it's like, for a bit, like Adobe was going down on AI, and then they like launched a few AI features, and the stock skyrocketed, and then now it's going back down again because people realize, oh wait, no, actually, it's not an AI company. Like, I think it's the manifestation and thought of like what is actually the world gonna look like if Anthropic 3x's its revenue again this year, OpenAI 2x's its revenue again this year, or you know, by the end of the year. How many people even believe by the end of the year AI startup revenue is over $100 billion? I think that's an insane statement for a lot of people, but that's what it's going to be, right? And who believes that number, right? It's like very few people. And then you draw the continuation. It's like, who believes, you know? And when Anthropic says in their funding, like, hey, we're going to have $300 billion of revenue by the end of the decade, and it's like, actually, I think that number's too low because the economic value of what they're going to create is going to be insane. And you tell people, oh, you know, OpenAI is going to have 18 gigawatts or 16 gigawatts by the end of 28, and they're going to be able to pay for it. And that's like, well, that's $300 billion to spend. How are they going to pay for it? It's like, you sweet summer child, don't worry. Sam can raise. They're going to blow up on revenue. They're fine, right? Like, it is like a bit of a vibe thing. It's a bit of like, you know, irrational exuberance almost, right? Like, Leopold's in his, you know, mid-20s, like I'm 29, like we are irrational, right? Because we have not lived through, you know, you've got these PMs who like,
you've never been that humble.
I don't know, like my family almost went bankrupt in 2008, like, you know, because we lived in a motel and we almost foreclosed, and we actually did foreclose on one motel. It's like pretty bad, but like, yeah, I mean, I was still a kid, right? Like, it was like, I've never been humble.
No, it's good to, I mean, it's good to live through that and understand how things can go wrong.
That's interesting.
What are you expecting out of Zuck and Meta this year? We've been big Zuck defenders, especially, I mean, there's this pressure of like, oh, Meta is spending so much, and yet they haven't created you know, any AI product that's super compelling or that's really working. And our stance has generally been Meta's making more money from AI than almost any company in the world outside of NVIDIA. So it's like, of course, Zuck should be justified in saying, hey, this is real, it's big, like I'm gonna like back the truck up and go all in.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear if you look at the most recent earnings, I think their CPM went up 9% when the consumer's weak, which means like if you were to like try and strip out like what is consumer spending increasing for CPM of ads versus what is the effectiveness of their algorithms, their algorithm got better by double digits in one quarter, right? It's like actually insane how good the algo's getting, right? At serving you the slop and the ads, right? So in that sense, like
the pig sound and the trough.
I gotta hear slop for the
slop sound.
We're going all in on
Slop
that.
for the
All in
slop
on the
sounds.
farm.
Slops and slop daughters.
so.
I love it.
So if you think about it, right? Like, okay, Meta's where are they gonna like win, right? I think if you have the Galaxy Brain take, it's like, well, they've got the best like wearables coming down the pipeline. They're gonna put AI on it. Apple won't be able to put good AI on their wearables, so they'll ceed it all to like Google or.
Well, the other thing is
Anthropic
people have had this narrative. As AI gets better, the value of real world experiences will increase, and I think that's a cool theory. But if you actually play it out, AI getting better means more content that's more effectively crafted for you, more personalized, 100 times more 1,000, 1,000,000 times more content. That would imply to me that people will just use digital products more, which means more time on site, more time in the app for Meta. So, I don't know.
I'm with you entirely, but I think like the Galaxy Brain take is that you're just going to have a wearable and that's going to have an AI assistant. OpenAI is trying to make it wearables, there's everyone's trying to make wearables. Google is, et cetera, et cetera. I think Meta will actually execute, and then they'll have a good AI. And then you stack on like a few things, right? How do they get users? Well, we've seen, at least if you look at the user metric charts, Google's OpenAI's users were growing. They were going to hit 1 trillion by the end of the year. They had 800 billion. Why did they not keep growing in the last quarter? It's because Nano Banana came out and they took all the incremental users, right? And likewise, if you go look at like, Gemini 3 didn't actually make Google grow that much. It was Nano Banana and then Pro or 2 or whatever it's called, right? Those are the ones that made them really grow. Meta's licensed all of Midjourney's code, data, models, right? 1. 2, they're like actually just like focusing hardcore on multimodal.
Was that a $1 billion plus deal?
The number is undisclosed. Midjourney still exists as a company.
Yeah. No, it looked to me like effectively a massive exit, but the best case scenario where they can just keep kind of being artists.
I think if you had me guess, I would bet it's over $1 billion. Right.
Every deal that Meta did was over $1 billion. They did, basically, like whether it's an employment contract, a licensing deal, an acquisition, everything had to be after it.
Well, so the interesting thing is
Meta.
Meta.
You're missing a zero again. Don't never miss the zero again.
Yeah, every discussion was how many billions are we spending on hiring this person, buying this company. Yeah.
Well, Meta interestingly has gone down market for compute because there's not enough compute in the big size deals, so they've actually gone and bought like small clusters.
Oh.
Because it's like, well, I want more compute.
From long tail neoclouds?
Yeah, from a longer tail.
Okay.
Because that's the only place they can get the compute they need.
Interesting.
Because they've already went out and signed big deals with Google and CoreWeave and so on and so forth.
Is Cluster Max 3 going to be a smaller chart because of consolidation in the the industry?
No, there's more.
It's going to be bigger.
It's going to be bigger. But you know, so Meta.
That's the thunder.
That's ominous. It's ominous. So I think Meta will, capture consumers through generative.
Mm-hmm.
If there's more content, people are just going to go to the content marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. The creator of the content captures less value as there are more content creators and more diversification of content, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think Meta just wins by being a platform, right? Google does too, and ByteDance does too, right? Yeah. But those three win by having a platform. And then the real question is, can they get in the assistant productivity game, right? I think this is important.
And through that, effectively search. If you're an assistant, it means that you can there's some commerce happening.
Well, they spun out and poached a bunch of people from Google.
Yeah.
So this wasn't in the media much, but they actually poached Google search people with similar sized deals as these crazy
researchers.
Yeah, and I always demoing any of the wearables, you can imagine Meta wants you to walk around in the world and see what are those headphones, and while we're talking, I just hit my little thing and buy it, right? Yeah. And it's you didn't even necessarily know that it happened. But of course, Meta's going to want to monetize
Everyone knows
that.
those are the Sony MDR X272s, 462.
Dude, I've been screaming about them doing some proper marketing.
Branding so
it's literally they're over here is WH1000XM5.
It's crazy.
And then their in ear is WF1000XM1000. It's dude, just call them Bravia Buds and Bravia headphones or some shit.
Well, China just bought the Sony, right?
Yeah. The Bravia brand's actually a Chinese company now. Sony sold their TV and
PlayStation Buds.
Yeah, PlayStation.
Walkman. Walkman Buds. Come on,
something.
Something.
For sure. Anyway, anything else, Jordy?
No,
This is
this was great.
fantastic.
I'm
And
excited
something
for this weekend.
Yeah, super excited. You
this
guys,
will be great.
What are some plays? We don't watch a lot of sport. What are some plays? What are some
You are a
plays?
football
that-
guy, right?
yeah. Grew up
Georgia?
rural Georgia, so I like
you go.
football.
Yeah.
High school football was the thing. College
Nice.
football was the thing. I think NFL is a little less
Yeah.
soulful.
Sure.
But now college football has the NIL, and so
Yeah,
it's also
yeah,
soulless
yeah.
to some extent. It's
Yeah.
fine. We enjoy it. Primal desire of seeing heads clash.
Yes.
And sometimes that manifests in Twitter drama, and sometimes that manifests in real football.
Yeah.
All I can say is fuck the Patriots.
Okay.
Whoa. Okay.
Yes.
I'm
There
kind
we
of
go.
bummed. We're gonna since we're gonna be at the game,
Yeah.
we're not gonna really get the great experience seeing the ads. I'm gonna be glued to my phone. I want to see all the AI, the different.
Well, don't worry. I
ads
got
from
some
the
more
lab.
ads for you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
on
so
the
much.
show.
Great segue. This message has been brought to you by.
Public, investing for those who take it seriously. Stocks, options, crypto, treasuries, and more with great customer service. Also, speaking of ads, we're brought to you by Vibe.co, where D2C brands, B2B startups, AI companies advertise on streaming TV. Pick channels, target audiences, and measure sales, just like on Meta. What else is in the news, Jordy, before we get out of here? Gotta
We
wrap
never covered this. Waymo
Yes.
confirmed that they raised $16 billion at $126 billion post, according to Ed Ludlow over at Bloomberg.
Saw a bunch of VC victory
Sequoia,
laps.
Sequoia getting in the mix. DST Global, Dragon.
It was sort of a bold move for a lot of VC firms to go in so early as the company was sort of spinning out.
And of course,
a magical
Google
company.
via Alphabet did $13 billion of the round themselves. So this
Very
was sort
nice.
of them putting
the Medal of Honor on
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah.
That's what you're referring
Exactly.
to? Yes. While you pull up the next one, let me tell you about Figma. Figma Make isn't your average vibe coding tool. It lives in Figma, so outputs look good, feel real, and stay connected to how teams build, create code back prototypes and apps fast.
Pull up this post from Redaction.
Okay.
It is Twitter every time a minor AI advancement occurs.
Mm-hmm.
And like this new block meta changes everything.
This new block meta?
it's like it's a
There's a lot of this going on. Well, you know what else changes everything? Gemini 3 Pro, Google's most intelligent model yet. State-of-the-art reasoning, next-level vibe coding, and deep multimodal understanding.
YC wants you to start an AI Rentech. They
Okay.
want you to
Just do it. Get out there and,
and,
do it.
Hirsch-
Start an AI
Hirsch says-
Rentech, and then get on Phantom Cash. Fund your wallet without exchanges or middlemen, and spend with the Phantom card. And that's our show. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Leave us 5 stars. We will
wasn't
see
ready.
you
I had
tomorrow.
to finish this